Fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the troubling events of the past week.
I'm going to pull the whole thing down. I'm going to bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's going to be biblical.
How's it going, everybody? FCB here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing fantastic. And I hope you're all in amazing spirits. And welcome to The Pulse here on the Freedom Channel broadcast. My God, lots going on, isn't there, ladies and gentlemen? Lots going on as usual. Where do we start? I mean, we're going to start with something else. Now, all of a sudden, everything has turned to pot, shall we say. And I predicted it. I called it. I've been saying it about good old Elon, haven't I? FCB was right all along, as always. And I've been saying about Elon ain't good. He's not a good seed. Remember, for years, ladies and gentlemen, I've been decoding about Elon and telling you his involvement with SpaceX, with Obama, with the deep state, with North Korea, and so forth and so forth. And we're going to go through that again. And I've been saying it and preaching it from the mountaintops. And yet again, what was I met with? The MAGA magic zombies. So shall we say, you know, those people, the ones that go around and saying, oh, you hate Trump. No, you couldn't find anyone more dedicated to Trump than me, especially when I haven't had much sleep. Actually, I've had no sleep. 24 hours, right around the clock, ladies and gentlemen. I've been working hard, trying to get, my finger on the pulse with everything going on, and plus the Kraken, ladies and gentlemen. We are near completion with the Kraken. That is going to be big. That is going to be huge. Now, let's talk about what's going on. The show, why I call it Trump's Trojan horse, because literally it has been. You think what's happening now with Elon is a coincidence? No, it was done by design. And it's a way of weeding out, certain other entities as well, because it's going to start with Elon, but it's not going to finish with Elon. There's much, much more. Many more, shall we say, characters that are going to be, shall we say, exposed. And I'm really looking forward to that, because it's about time that, the truth come out. Now, let's talk about future proofs past. What have I said, ladies and gentlemen? In the past, Elon did what? Remember? Let's talk about what Elon did, because everyone forgets what Elon did in the past, but no, that's okay. FCB's here to remind you. And to those that sat there, and one thing I can't stand, ladies and gentlemen, just to make it very clear, is a hypocrite. Hypocrites, backpedalers, and, people that have got a short-term memory, and, those that sit there and play the little games as well. I can't stand those kind of people. And I'm going to expose somebody today, and you'll know who it is very soon. Because you know what? These kind of people play the game. Oh, no, we love Elon. We love Elon, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden they're playing this little game of theirs saying that they knew all along. No, they didn't. Also, they called us certain names, which was very unsavory, shall we say. And I'm going to bring that to the table, don't you worry, with a nice little video that I prepared. Now, let's talk about this. Elon Musk. Okay, back in 2017, let's go back to then, ladies and gentlemen, when Elon did what? Elon backed out when President Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord, and so did the Disney boss as well. Okay, no, they didn't like it. And Elon Musk says, I'm departing presidential council's climate change is real. Leaving Paris is not a good for America or the world. I know. We know what the Paris Accord is all about, and President Trump knew about this all along. And it's another future-proof past, ladies and gentlemen. And as I've said, I've always been right all along, haven't I? I've stood by my true north, and what I've said, I've meant. And it's all come true. Everything that I've said has come true, like it is right now. Okay, let's go to Q drop 489. Q drop 489, the US taxpayer are paying for it all. Paris Accord equals scam. Trillions of dollars. Now, Elon got pissed. He got pissed off back in the day, didn't he? Because he wanted to tap into those trillions of dollars. It's all about the money. I mean, how did you think he became a billionaire, ladies and gentlemen? What? Selling cookies? No, he didn't. After I'm leaving and, the presidential council, that was back in 2017. Look, right there on his, on X or Twitter on the day. And then you had him, the Disney man, Robert Iger. As a matter of principle, I've resigned from the President's Council over the Paris Agreement withdrawal. Really now? And then when I saw this today, I said, President Trump, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're up to. Okay, I love President Trump. He's awesome. And look at this. Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate. Now, to me, ladies and gentlemen, EV mandate, electric vehicle mandate, Paris Accord, climate change, that all fits up into a nice little bundle, doesn't it? And it's a future-proof past. So it's a 5 of 5, comes clear straight off the bat, President Trump. Thank you very much for those lovely comms. We know what you're getting at. We know that it's future-proof past. It's a 5 of 5, comms are clear, and we know what's really going on. We know what President Trump's getting at, right? And he says that, the EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars. Yes, no, now Elon got pissed off. Apparently he went crazy. And that he knew for months I was going to do it. Oh, yes, he knew it. Okay, he knew a lot of things. And realistically speaking, is it really Elon? You know there are civilian decoys that are being used. Let's be honest. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, you can't call it a coincidence, can you? How many coincidences before you call this mathematically impossible? Now, let me show you something that's going to make the world of sense. Let's go to Q drop 237. And you can't call it a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. There are none. Back in the day, when good old Elon was creating, the SpaceX technology, and it was for missiles. We all know it was for missiles. We spoke about that before many times. And Obama used NASA technology. They shit-canned the NASA technology and they gave it to Elon. And you think what happened? Well, over to North Korea, they decided to make these little miniature nukes using the technology, okay? And Elon and all the gang, like Obama, were part of it. What if North Korea had ICBM capability since 2009? No, it doesn't surprise me. What if North Korea had miniature nuke payload delivery in 2004? Remember when they used to shoot off the missiles and it'd go, pear-shaped or blow up or whatever, and we used to laugh about it? No, we shouldn't have been laughing about it because we're looking over at the wrong place. It's distractions. Like, no, look over here. Don't look over there in the mountain where we got real things going on. Okay? What if the previous test that failed was staged? There you go. It was staged. Why would this be relevant? Who is involved? Oh, yes, I wonder who's involved with that good old SpaceX. Yes, if you say SpaceX, Elon Musk, if you say Obama, you are 120% correct on the money. All right, biggest cover up in history. Oh, yes, Uranium One. We know what that means, okay? It went through to Canada, and then from Canada to the European or EU, and then to Asia, and then across to North Korea. And the Iran deal is how they got money into Iran to go to North Korea to fund this little project of theirs. You see how it all works? So can you see, ladies and gentlemen, that you can't call it a coincidence. Now let's talk about that. So that's Q drop 237. Oh yes, 211, Q drop 211. North Korea, SpaceX. Do you see the connections, ladies and gentlemen? How the connections underneath, that means connected with that little underscore. North Korea connected to SpaceX. Isn't that lovely? So Elon has committed treason. He certainly has. Don't you worry about that. And future is going to prove past, as always. Okay? Let's go. Now, let's go to Q. So we went 211. Let's go 209. Oh, yes. Q drop 209. Why did Barack Obama scuttle the shuttle program? What is SpaceX? Yes, SpaceX is that little grift of theirs that they created to, number one, he canned the shuttle program, grabbed the technology from NASA and pumped it into SpaceX. And then guess where the funding went? All the money. Because guess what? It's all about the money, ladies and gentlemen. And then the technology also went to North Korea so they can build their little bombs over there where no one can see them. But God can see it all. Don't you worry about that one. Because after all, we've got Q drop 437. And that happens, look, doesn't that remind you of James Bond? With the mountain there and they're doing all that little dirty business in there. Yeah, that's North Korea. Okay, yes. Just imagine North Korea like James Bond film. Their own little bit of hell. Can you imagine with the cash they had stolen, or they stole, that they could have built on North Korea's paychecks? They work or die or sort of free. 2001 shuttle program terminated by Hussein. There we go. US lost space dominance. Done by design. And it talks about North Korea's miniature nukes like we spoke about before. The Iran nuke deal, that was a scam. You know what the Iran nuke deal was? It was a way of putting money in, a slush fund, and they raised sanctions, so they can put money in there. And the EU and all that were involved in putting money into this Iran slush fund. So then they can send the money across to North Korea and they can build their little miniature nukes and all that and care of SpaceX. Because NASA Tech went to SpaceX, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. NASA Tech too. Good old SpaceX. Hillary Rodham Clinton's little private servers, all connected. It's all about the cash. Eye of Ra. Remember the Eye of Ra? The right eye? Yeah, no, who got bashed in the eye recently on the right eye? It wasn't it Elon? It was, wasn't it? He got a nice bruise in the eye. Let's go back to that one right there. And this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, future proves past. It's another way we get comms. 5 of 5, comms are clear. Right? So, Elon copped a bruise on the right side of the eye. And we all know what that means, don't we? We know what that means. It means that it's comms. And the comms are really clear there that's what it's connected to, because the right eye, ladies and gentlemen, is the Eye of Ra. The left eye is the Eye of Horus. And you can't call it a coincidence because we don't believe in coincidences, do we? There's no coincidences, none whatsoever. Let's see if I can find that little thing we did was it a couple of days ago or something like that, where we did that thing with, the Eye of Horus and Eye of Ra, and how symbolism will be their downfall, because it literally is their bloody downfall. It's going to be, goodbye for all of them. And isn't it great, ladies and gentlemen, that we're seeing this all happening in real life now? That, we're seeing things twist around, and we're going to be all rejoicing very soon and seeing these scum buckets for what they are, a bunch of shitheads, It's about time. Let's see if I can find. Here we go. The eye of Ra, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. The eye of Ra. That is the right eye. Okay? Remember? There we go. Eye of Ra related to the sun. Eye of Horus related to the moon. Remember, the one on the left eye is Obama. Obama copped it on the left, which means he worships the eye of Horus, which he obviously is Muslim because he worships the moon crescent. Right? Yeah, we know that one, don't we? Right? We know what that means. Then you had good old Elon the other day. Yeah, no, it's on the right side, so he worships the eye of Ra, doesn't he? Can you see what I'm talking about? You know, it's amazing, isn't it? When you know, ladies and gentlemen, you just can't make this stuff up. Right? Eye of Ra. So we've got a 5 of 5 comms are clear. Straight off the bat, we know what's going on. Thank you very much. Right? The left eye is the marker, which is eye of Ra is Elon. And the left eye is Obama. Symbolism, evil, stupid, justice, Q. Oh, don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen. Justice is coming for all of them. And wait till it all comes out in the wash. People are going to be like, we should have listened to FCB. Because FCB had it right all along. And Carol says it all the time, and Soren, FCB, you got it right again. I know, you know what? I've been saying it for years now. And you know what? Others say it, they go and flip-flop. You know what a flip-flopper is, right? Someone that flip-flop from left to right to left, and they don't have any, shall we say, stability. So, you can't trust anybody that flip-flops or blows with the wind. With me, I'm consistent, I'm straight to the point, and I stay my true north. Those who know me know that that's how I am. And I've always been there like that because the others go with what's popular. So, for example, there are those truthers out there that go around, and then I remember with Elon, when Elon jumped on board after that episode of President Trump's, assassination, you know what I'm talking about? In Butler, he jumped on board. Everyone loved Elon. Oh, we love Elon. Elon this, black MAGA that. The black hat and everything was going off, and everything was just, everyone was Elon this. And then everyone started buying the little cyber trucks. Oh, yes, you remember that. Cyber trucks everywhere. Everyone was, no, don't worry about the kids eating. We're going to go and buy a cyber truck to help Elon out. Let's make Elon rich again. If it wasn't rich enough by, doing what he did to people, as into the taxpayer, and screwing him left, right, and center. Because think about it, the Paris Accord, it was trillions. And then he got pissed off with Trump because, and this is the future proves past again, and FCB was right again, and I said it again, okay? No, and the others, the others, we know who they are. No, let me introduce you to somebody, ladies and gentlemen. That is obviously one big flip-flop and a flip-flop of disappointment, to be quite honest. And this video will sum it up in one lovely hit. Okay? Because people really got to know what a dickhead really is. Enjoy.
You came into my life and tried to do me wrong. So in return for that, I have sent you this song. It tells you what I think and how I feel about you. So take a seat and listen up, cause every single word is true. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, I hope you'll soon be dead. And this is payback time for what you put me through. The way you behaved was a total disgrace. I never grow tired of punching your face. You think that putting me down lifts you higher. I wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. You think you're better than me? Well, you're not my friend. I'll get further in life than you in the end. You're nothing, you're worthless, just dirt on my shoe. Wherever you go, whatever you do, people will sing this song to you. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, I hope you'll soon be dead. And this is payback time for what you put me through. God will punish you, cause you reap what you sow. You're a vile individual from head to toe. Nasty to the bone, unpleasant to the core. I shall drink champagne when you are no more. If I never see your face again, that's too soon. I've never met anyone so suited to this tune. I hope your friends desert you and your health is poor. This is what I think you are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead. I hope you'll soon be dead. And this is payback time for what you put me through. I wouldn't even give you the steam from my piss. As far as I'm concerned, you can swivel on this. You're simply jealous of me, but I couldn't care less. Cause I have all the qualities you'll never possess. I'd hate to go through life as you 24/7. Cause people like you don't end up in heaven. You will rot in hell, that's where you belong. And when you get there, they'll be singing this song. You're a dickhead, such a dickhead.
It's the same feeling every time.
And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, we're all glad you're dead. And so is everyone that you ever knew. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, everybody's said. I hope you like the song, so screw you.
Yeah, screw you. And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so, I call it as it is. You're going to go around and say all those nasty things about us, and you're going to go around and be a hypocrite, or you're going to go around and play these little games, or you're going to find around and find around, you know what I say, FAFO. And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, when you got people like that flip-flop, how can you trust somebody like that? I mean, you saw what that person called us. All those nasty things. No, very nice things, not very nice at all. And now he's trying to backtrack. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. You've seen that, number one, how he called us a bunch of CBQ nuts. Oh, yes. And then he basically 17 this and 17 that and 17. Well, the last time I looked, 17 equals Q. That's what I saw. What is it? CVQ. Is President Trump a CVQ nut as well? Is he? I'd like to ask him that question. Do you call him that? When you went and took photos with him, and did you call him that? Doesn't make any sense. Does no logical sense at all. Especially, when you got that kind of, maybe he's got bipolar, who knows? But anyway, the thing is, he started doing this kind of crap today, the flip-flop. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm saying. You've seen that he was, Mr. Elon Musk lover. Oh, I love you, Elon. Oh, driving the Cybertruck, all getting excited and shit. All that crap going on. The Dodge father, we love you, all that kind of crap. And now today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got this going on, the flip-flop, right? And I know what the flip-floppers do. And that's what I'm saying. They'll try and use an exit strategy or a flip-flop. This is one example. Oh, it's fun to see normies on both sides feed into the drama. No, we don't like drama. No idea what they just witnessed. And now he's trying to flip-flop it around and make out that he's intelligent, like he knew all along. He knew the game all along, what President Trump's little game was. No. Why don't you own it for once? Because you got busted lying, okay? And all the facts, evidence, and receipts right there. And then he says the most epic use of a pawn, meaning Elon. So in other words, President Trump used a liberal to win Republicans. So this is these little flip-floppy bullshit, throwing the laws and orders and all that kind of crap to make himself sound like he's intelligent. where I've shown you and decoded all this based on facts, evidence, and receipts, using the Q drops that he called us a civic Q nuts. Yet he goes around and does this, these little numbers. But I thought you called us this. What's your name? I thought you called us a civic Q nuts. Do you see there's no logic in what this person's doing? Seriously, yeah, enough of him anyway. But you get the picture, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of people like that go around flip-flopping. And that's just one example of them. Okay? And this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like making an example of these kind of people, but you know what? I'm sorry. You're going to call us these names. You're going to sit there and try to gaslight us. You're going to get burnt. That's what it's going to, you're going to be shown for who you are. Because, I can't stand hypocrites. And you can see, ladies and gentlemen, how hypocritical that man is. Okay? You can see it right there. And you can't deny the facts and some research. You just cannot dispute it. Now, getting back to what I'm saying, Elon Musk is obviously giving President Trump the middle finger. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House. Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. So Elon's basically, he's getting upset. He got upset because now, obviously, he lost billions of dollars ever since he teamed up with Team Trump. He gave money, millions and millions of dollars for President Trump's campaign. His stocks went down the shitter, and it went down the shitter again today. Oh, yes, it happened again. So, it was, this is the thing. He's pretty much upset with Trump that he got the raw end of the stick. Okay? And then you've got all these, journalists trying to work it. Oh, I don't know. Why can't they just make up and have a beer and, all that sort of thing? No. It's much bigger than that. It's future proofs past. This is giving validity to Q, ladies and gentlemen, which is military intelligence. Military intelligence, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's giving validity to. And we know what military intelligence is. It's Q. Okay, that's what it is. Don't listen to the flip-flopper. Oh, you're a bunch of civic Q nuts. Okay, and then, 17, Yeah, not only once, twice, 3 times he's done it. And it's like, come on, mate. Seriously, have you got bipolar or something? Let's go here. Let's see what the stock market's doing, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? With Elon. Oh, yes, there it is. Minus 14.26. You are correct, Tesson. Minus 14.26 points or percentage, whatever it is, straight down the gurgler. So he's not doing too well. There it is, Tesla. No, not doing too well at all. And Elon's been, as I said, he's been copying it. And he should cop it for the amount of, shall we say, treason that he's committed against people. Remember before there was the Elon cheering squad? I could remember. Oh, don't you remember? I can't forget that, When I was called all sorts of lovely names because I was going against. The others were like, the other one there. You seen he was driving cyber trucks, probably going to order one, probably was, ready to go and catch up with Elon, and play his stupid guitar. But anyway, they're the type of people that they play the little cheer squad. And now that Trump's turned around, they're trying to make out that, no, we knew all along. No, you got caught with your pants down. Just accept it. That's what I say. Just accept that you just got caught with your pants down. Just own it. Now, let's have a look. Elon Musk says that Trump, this is the other thing, is in the Epstein files, and that's why Cash, that's why Bongino, that's why, Pamela Blondie doesn't want to release it. Now, we know that he was on the Epstein the list. We know that, obviously he kicked out Epstein. Look, that's all been done and dusted. But why would Elon say that? That's not a very nice thing, is it? Especially when, remember they were doing the YMCA together and he was doing the Y, the Baphomet and all that, in Butler and all that. And No, they were the good days. Remember when everyone was doing the YMCA, everyone was cheering Elon, everyone went online and bought his stupid black MAGA hat. I remember that. Okay? And everyone was like, love Elon this and love Elon that. Now, do they love Elon now? Do they love Elon now? I want to know. No, what are we hearing now, ladies and gentlemen? Is this the crickets? That's what we're hearing. We're hearing the crickets because those people sat around jumping up and down, we love Elon, and President Trump's little Trojan horse destroyed it all. He totally annihilated it all. Oh, yes, he did. And Elon Musk, the world's richest man, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is fully engaged in a mudslinging battle online. Trump said he was very disappointed in Elon for attacking his big, beautiful bill. Then Musk said, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Then he decided to throw in the really big bomb, which is the Epstein files. Oh, yes, the good old Epstein files. Not very nice, is it? No. And he threw this in President Trump's face as well, by the way. Remember when President Trump rejected this guy, Jared, for the position of NASA because of his conflict of interest, because obviously he's connected to Elon. So I would say this has been planned. That's what I'm saying. And we know that we are watching a show. Things are happening, central casting. We get it. Okay, we know this mudslinging match it's happening, and it's all by design, you know what I mean? Now, what are we going to see? Well, who created Doge? Didn't good old Elon do it? He did, didn't he? I think Elon created Doge. Yes, he did. And now they're going to use Doge against Elon. Oh, yes. Don't you worry about that one. They're going to really go to town on Elon stuff. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to use Doge on Elon and start going through all the stuff that Elon has racked up from the taxpayer. That's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong, as they say. And it's going to get more and more explosive. Now, talking about explosive, yes, Ukraine, Russia, you know what the Ukraine did. They did that little dirty stunt. And now Putin has said, we're going to have to retaliate. Now, can you see, ladies and gentlemen, it's like, as Q says, never tell the enemy when you're going to attack. Or, and that's exactly, or, even Lars, was not Lars, so who said it? It was in The Art of War, that's it. Something like that. Yeah, you never let the enemy know when you're going to attack. Like the Kraken. No one's going to know when that's coming. Now, when that happens, it's going to be on. I'm telling you right now, when it's going to happen with Putin, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. It's going to be something like an Oreshnik or something major that's going to smash the place down. And there are controlled military operations. As I said, after all, we are, in military occupation. And obviously, there are controlled military operations taking place. However, we also had a visit today from the Chancellor of Germany. Yes, remember the one, Chancellor Merz, going around and he's been, shall we say, fueling the fire. Yes, sucking up and trying to, shall we say, let's weaponize Ukraine as much as we can. We're going to take the restrictions off the long-range weapons and allow them to go and bomb the shit out of Russia. Now, he went and saw President Trump today. It was a very interesting little meeting, shall we say, very interesting. Now, you saw President Trump, he basically went there. It started off pleasant, as they always do, with the, they gave him a gift. Oh, he's President Trump's grandfather. His heritage is German. And he decided to find President Trump's grandfather's birth certificate and put it on a lovely frame. Basically, the reaction that I saw from President Trump was like, basically, can you take that frame and shove it up your ass. That's the. He really wasn't impressed, to be quite honest, with that whole little visit. But anyway, we'll go into that. But as I said, now with Elon, Elon now is not as popular as he was before, especially with the MAGA people. No. Now they're getting upset. They want him to make up. But it's not going to happen because we know what's going to happen. The shitfest is going to happen. And literally all the major reveals about Elon, because they're going to use Doge to infiltrate the SpaceX. And when they start to infiltrate SpaceX, guess what's going to happen? It's going to show all the amazing things that SpaceX has been, hiding, and all the, shall we say, all the billions of dollars that have been going from point A into their pockets. Obama maybe as well, because Obama's involved in this. So it's going to be a very interesting state of affairs, isn't it, moving forward? Now, let's go to the big, beautiful bill. Now, remember the big, beautiful bill? Massie was against it. Oh, yes, he was. The big, beautiful bill is a debt bomb ticking. It also the biggest missed opportunity conservatives have ever put our country back on track of fiscal sanity. To raise the ceiling, $5.1 trillion. Yeah, it's a bit of a, yeah. And then you had other conservatives that were saying, like, MTG, for example. MTG's got the OBBB regrets right now. Oh, yes. No, she's come out and she's saying she regrets it. Marjorie Taylor Greene sounds alarm over the AI provision. She doesn't like the AI business that's in the big, beautiful bill. And remember, I said it on one of the previous pulses that I did go through it very quickly, and I did notice a lot of AI-heavy parts to it. Now, the AI provision is one of the big, beautiful bill act. She said, if I had known about it, I would have said no. No, it's too late now, Marjorie. You should have read the bloody thing. Okay? It just goes to show that you pay this woman hundreds of thousands of dollars to do her job. And now what is she doing? She's exposing herself, okay, that she's not doing her job. Oh, no, if I'd known about it. Well, hold on a minute, Marjorie. Aren't you supposed to read it? Isn't that your job? Isn't that your responsibility? That's what I would like to know. And you probably all agree, ladies and gentlemen, the taxpayers' money goes to paying her little salary, and then you expect them to do their due diligence. Now, do you get what I mean? This is a future-proof past again. It's the same business. The omnibus bill, you can liken it to being like the one big beautiful bill, right? Like President Trump's. It's an omnibus bill. An omnibus bill is basically one whole bill that contains multiple bills. It's like a, shall we say, a major shit sandwich in there, and you don't know what's in there, what flavors are in there. You don't know what's in there. And what happens is they make it so large, so much, as they say, pork. So you can't be bothered reading it. And then they try to push you to sign it or agree to it, and you're tired and they fatigue you, and it's like, oh, I'll just go and sign it. I want to go to sleep. And then in the end, we all get screwed, right? We all get screwed. Think about it. Because they don't do their due diligence, because they can't be bothered reading the whole thing. And what do? Oh, no, if I knew, I wouldn't have done it. Well, you should have read it, okay? And it just goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, like everything else. You think about the Doge business, all that waste and fraud. Well, did you think it only came from the left or the right? No, it came from both sides. Both sides agreed to it. So the Republicans, and they make me laugh, all right? And they sit there, and it's like one big theatre. Not only the Republicans, the Democrats, we know it's one big show. The left and the right, they're all controlled by the same beast. And they sit there and they do this little song and dance in Congress so they can make their money. That's what it's all about. Song and dance. Let's make them believe we hate each other. And then at the end of the day, we'll go down to the pub and have a few beers and we'll laugh at their expense, meaning us. we'll put on this little theatric that we hate each other. Oh, yes, we've seen those little theatrics. Don't you worry about that. For example, let me show you one, and you know that this has all been done by design because they've got to play this little game of we're all on the left and I'm on the right. But realistically speaking, they're all on the same team. After all, they serve the same beast. Now, there's an example. You know, we've got this one. No, it's not not AI. No, it's not AI. But I thought you hate each other, Matt. This is where Matt was, part of the gang, shall we say, part of Congress. Or, when he was, 2019, he was part of Congress. Have a look, ladies and gentlemen. Peace on earth. I mean, look who's taking the piss out of us. They are. We've got the left here, and then we've got the right. And in the middle, you've got the beast that controls them both. Right? 2019. And then Matt's telling us it's not AI, it's actually real. So in other words, we've been gaslit and lied to. This left-right rhetoric. Now, getting back to it. They're sitting there, oh yeah, well done, Elon, yay. Yeah, we're getting Doge's destroying everything. Yeah. And they're praying to, please don't let that Doge find my, shall we say, indiscretions. They're saying, please. But they're clapping and they're clenching their teeth, right? Because guess what? These Republicans, Democrats, they're the same ones that passed the fraud in the first place. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. All that, Sesame Street bullshit, in Arab land, all these other bits and bobs, condoms blowing up condoms and using it on the Gaza Strip, all these ridiculous things. Hold on a minute. Who passed that crap? It was Congress. So in other words, they're making me laugh because it's ridiculous. Because these idiots were the ones that passed it in the first place. Right? And then they're cheering on Elon. Oh, great stuff, Elon. You're going to find out all the shit that we got up to. She's admitting that she didn't even bother to read the bill. Now, think about this. What if that bill contained something like AI is going to be used to kill people? We're going to use AI robots to go around and kill everybody. I'm tired. I want to sign the bill. Don't worry about it. Oh, had I known, then we're all dead. You know what I mean? No, it's too late then, Marjorie, isn't it? But do you see, this is an admittance right there that she didn't even bother to do her job, or most of them didn't do their job in the first place, and read the bloody thing. If I had known, no, you didn't know because you were too busy gallivanting with the ex-RSBN man. What's his name? Brian or something? Yeah, that guy right there. You know which one from RSBN? Yeah, apparently they're in together, and she left probably her husband or whatever for him. But, they're going around having dinners and stuff, and she's probably focusing on that rather than focusing on making America great again by paying attention and reading the bill in the first place. You know what I mean? And you all should have the right to be pissed right now because you know what? The taxpayer are paying for her bloody salary. And, by the way, she's a multi-millionaire, you know that. Because she's got insider trading, but you know that, don't you? Insider trading. She learned from Pelosi, by the way. Oh, I hate Pelosi. No, you learn from Pelosi how to do the insider trading, like all these others. You know what I mean? She's got money, don't you worry. They're all greased off. But getting back to what I'm saying, no, she's against Elon now. Why are you against Elon, Marjorie? Because apparently Grok, Elon's little creation, someone sent something to Marjorie which she didn't like. Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is from Grok, right? So good old Grok, Elon's creation. That's why she's pissed off with AI. Because she says Marjorie Taylor Greene identifies as a Christian expressing faith in Jesus and traditional beliefs like her 2021 Christmas message. However, a Christian nationalism and support. Oh, there we go. Grok got into that little bag of worms, shall we say, of the conspiracy theories like QAnon. There we go. So Grok brought that stuff out. Critics include religious leaders argue her actions contradict her Christian values of love and unity, citing her defenses. So she didn't like what Grok said. And then she retorted and she said, Grok, the judgment seat belongs to God, not to the non-human AI platform. But hold on a minute, Marjorie. Didn't you invest in all that, that stuff on the stock market? I think you did. You invested in all that AI stocks. You also didn't bother reading the bill, and you're saying that if you'd known about AI, you wouldn't have signed it. But no, that's too late now. Grok has got you bent over a barrel. Grok is left-leaning. Oh, she's calling Grok left-leaning. So if you're calling Grok left-leaning, that means you're calling Elon left-leaning as well, because he's the one that apparently created the thing and continues to spread fake news and propaganda. So now Grok is the one spreading fake news and propaganda. When people give up their own discernment, we're not you giving up our discernment, Marjorie, because we know how corrupt you are. All right? We know the little grifty games you're playing, this little Jesus card on one hand, and on the other hand, you're playing the insider trading card like Pelosi is. Stop speaking the truth and depend on the AI to analyze information. They will be lost. So you can see that obviously love has been lost between Marjorie Taylor Greene, Grok, Elon, all the other stuff as well. Things aren't turning out well in paradise, okay? Now, this is where I say, Massie was copying the sharp end of the stick. Now, could it be? Think about this from a logical standpoint. Now, Massie is somebody that's not greased up. He's not connected to good old APAC. He's got no masters to answer to. That's why he could be working the angle with President Trump to expose those who are corrupt. This is the genius, ladies and gentlemen, of this man. He knows what he's doing, President Trump. Don't you worry about that one. Now, let's go to this clip, ladies and gentlemen, of Carl Higbie. I think it's from Newsmax. Let's go through it. Let's go through it together. Let's discuss it. There's going to be some amazing content, things that he's going to bring to the table, which is going to be great for us to listen to. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention.
Okay, so the support for this bill seems to be falling apart right in front of us. And instead of going back to the drawing board and saying, oh, hey, maybe we, as in Congress, should trim it down a bit and change some things and tweak some things. No, they're just trying to keep it alive simply because it passed the House already.
I called Elon last night and he didn't answer, but I'm not upset about this. And I just, I think he understands, and he's acknowledged to me before, that this is so serious that we can't fool around with it.
Yeah, that's what we're concerned about. It is serious because apparently you passed a bill that no one read, that you told us was so star-spangled awesome, Mike, that it had to be passed. And Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted out today, or actually yesterday, full transparency. I did not know this section on pages 278 and 279 of the OBBB that strips states of the right to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. She said, I'm adamantly opposed to this.
There you go. So Marjorie Taylor Greene has gone out on, public forum and said that she didn't bother reading her stuff. Right? She didn't do her job. Full transparency. I didn't know about this section. No, full transparency. Thank you for admitting that you didn't do your job, Marjorie. And, and because of you didn't do your job, the shit got passed. Now, I did not know about this section on pages 278 and 279 of the one big beautiful bill that strips states the right to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. So who controls AI for 10 years? That will be the United States corporation, Marjorie. Not very good, is it? I'm adamantly opposed to this, and it is a violation of state rights, and I would have voted no if I had known it was there. You didn't listen, Marjorie. You didn't read the what? You didn't read the bill? You're too busy gallivanting around and watching your money go up, stocks. This needs to be stripped out at the Senate. So now Marjorie wants it gone. And I think this guy as well wants it gone.
And is a violation of states' rights, and I would have voted no if I had known this was in there. This needs to be stripped out in the Senate. Look, I love Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's right on target about 99% of the time. And I'm generally pretty aligned with her on most things. But is it too much to ask that somebody who's getting paid $174,000
$174,000, ladies and gentlemen, of your taxpayers' money is going to good old MTG. Oh, don't you worry about that. I mean, that's peanuts. I mean, compared to what she makes on the stock markets, and she's on millions of dollars now. Don't worry about that. I mean, she could go retire. She wouldn't give a shit. That's why she didn't go for the Senate.
of my tax money a year to read the one major thing they voted on this month? I mean, this is exactly what I've been ranting about for a month. Look, I know Trump supported this bill, but we also know that he is not thrilled about the final product. But how much other junk is there in this, like this bill?
There you go. Even Mr. Newsmax doesn't like it. There we go.
I have a theory, though, and this is just my theory.
Yeah, then he says his theory, and then you'll watch the new video that he did, that it's like, I don't know if that was right. Anyway, let's have a listen.
But I've recently been pretty right about a lot of things, so I'm just going to roll with it. I think Trump might be working in tandem with Elon here to tank his own bill in a 4D chess move.
You hear what he just said? That he's working in tandem with Elon, or whoever the character is, to tank his own bill. Anyway, let's have a listen.
Just a theory. My reasoning, I mean, like, how many people in the history of ever, like Trump's entire political career of the last decade, have come out against something Trump wants? And when has Trump just not gone off and completely obliterated them on like a global scale? Seriously. Ron DeSantis says one bad thing about Trump. Trump ruined his presidential career potential. Massie, 99% aligned with Trump, doesn't vote for the big, beautiful bill, and Trump's supporting a primary against him. So why hasn't Trump said anything negative about Elon?
Oh, no, that changed. Don't you worry. That changed. I mean, you're hearing him now prior to the bombshell. We're going to watch him after the bombshell and how he reacts. It's going to be funny.
You picking up what I'm putting down? I mean, maybe Trump is also reading the country that's not thrilled about massive deficits that this creates and saying, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have settled for what the Congress gave me, so let's put Congress in the hot seat and force it back to the drawing board. Is it crazy to think? Yes, we get all these tax cuts now. Great. That's a huge Republican talking point, and they're all.
So you think about what's the major pull on this beautiful bill, big, beautiful bill. It's the tax cuts. Because you see what President Trump says, 64% if we, the tax increase, no. You better pass it. Otherwise, we're going to. So in other words, it's got to pass, otherwise the people cop it. So that's the thing. I know you better pass it.
Always saying that's why we need to pass this to avoid the largest tax hike in history. Okay, well, first off, it was their idea to make the Trump tax cuts temporary in the first place. I realize there's like procedural reasons why they did this, but the procedure sucks. So I'm not giving them a pass on that because they made the procedure.
Yeah, they made everything. They made the procedures.
So don't tell me we have to pass something so you can cover your own behind for not passing permanent tax cuts the first time, Mike Johnson.
There you go. So Mr. Mike Johnson's comping it.
The other part is, yes, America gets the tax cuts right now, which is a great thing. It really is a good thing. And that is the one reason why I've been even mildly supportive of this bill, because taxation is theft. But almost all the spending cuts don't.
Yeah, taxation is theft. It really is. It's actually unlawful. It actually is unlawful.
Won't kick in until 2029. Why not start them tomorrow? So
What do you say? 2029? Shit. So it's not going to start straight away.
in until 2029. Why not start them tomorrow? So we're just going to increase the deficit by like $5 trillion. Rand Paul is all over this. Folks, look, there's a bunch of people out there that think that this is like some monolithic scenario where you either support Trump in the bill or you don't. You know, I'm like one of the most staunch MAGA guys since 2015, okay? You can be against something that Trump is for and still support Trump.
He's right there. You got to look at what President Trump's doing. You know, we just because he had, remember Elon Musk, the bum chums. Remember, just because I'm against Elon Musk doesn't mean I don't support President Trump. This is what you got to get, ladies and gentlemen. Just because Massie doesn't support the bill, and there's a reason why, doesn't mean he doesn't support Trump. Now, how many times has President Trump said he's going to primary Massie in the past, and yet he endorses Massie? Do you know what I mean? He's a master chess player, ladies and gentlemen. He's a master. He knows. He's a master strategist.
So don't let Joe Scarborough or whatever those other talking heads say that, oh, MAGA's turning on Trump and Elon. There's no division.
This is before.
We just have a simple policy disagreement. We are turning on Republican members of Congress and the Senate, though, who want to rubber stamp this without any criticism. All we want is a little bit better bill, just a little bit. Not too much to ask. I mean, you got, after all.
Yeah, but how can you have a bit better bill if they don't bother reading it?
You guys did promise us all these things. And you had to read the bills the first time to pass them, too.
Yeah, that's true. You had to read the bill the first time to pass it. But as you know, no, they don't bother reading it. And that's proof. You've seen what Marjorie Taylor Greene came out. Oh, no, if I had known, there you go. They're admitting that they don't bother to read the bill.
Like, I'm talking about all the bills. Like, why didn't you ever read any of these bills? I mean, maybe we wouldn't have had so many of the things in there that's wasting money that's now being sent back in this rescission package that the White House had to get together. The same thing that happened with this bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene pointed out is the reason why all this other stuff needed to be caught by Doge, and we're in the fiscal situation we're in.
No, he's right. You think about it, he is 100% right. Hadn't they passed all the other bills, you wouldn't have to, Doge finding all the fraud, would you? Because who allowed the fraud to go out there in the first place? They did, didn't they? Congress.
Any Republican right now, you're going to sit there and tell me that 218 or more people in the House voted to have those items individually funded with my tax dollars? I doubt it. Those items and millions of other things get stuffed into bills last minute.
He's right. All those fraud things, those things where where they get money from, it's stuffed in at the last minute. He's right. And they stuff these omnibus bills with so much pork, and nobody knows where it goes, and they just sign it. And they make it huge that you can't even be bothered reading the thing. It's so ridiculously big. That's how they get them. They fatigue the Congress people, and then they stuff the bills at the last minute and they push them to pass it. It's the oldest trick in the book.
Some legislative staffer, nobody reads it, then it goes to the House floor with the party whips just telling people to straight up vote for this or that.
There we go. The party whip tells them you better vote for it. Otherwise, you're going to get primaried. Can you see, ladies and gentlemen, that realistically speaking, the Congress people, they're either greased off by APAC or some lobbyists, or they're being told by their whip, you better do this, otherwise you're going to get primaried. I mean, they try to do it to Massie all the time.
And if they're against it, they promise them something on the side. Committee position, or worse, additional earmarks for their district that one of their friendly contractors who may or may not have donated to their campaign might get a bid for. That's how you got Sesame Street in Iraq.
Sesame Street in Iraq, $3 million. That's how you got it. That you got it because of these Congress people not doing their job and the underhanded tactics and techniques that they employ to be able to push all that pork from the taxpayers' money into God knows whose pockets.
Not because it was a great idea, but because of the wheeling and dealing of Washington, D.C., which ironically enough is what we voted against in November. So here's an idea. Why don't we just go back to the 2016 budget? $3.85 trillion. Still a ton of money, but it's nearly half. It's nearly half of what we're spending now. What are we spending? Like now, COVID amounts of money. When we had to prop up an entire economy that was shut down. We don't need to spend that much money. I mean, the disease wasn't even that bad in the first place, but we are now...
Yeah, the disease wasn't bad in the first place, but the poison was.
...spending Nancy Pelosi's budget. So what'll make me happy? Under $4 trillion in spending. I don't want to hear about the justification of discretionary and mandatory and reconciliation and all these other fancy terms that Congress throws around to hide behind the process that they made. That's the mandate. Do it. Don't do it. Okay, it's your primary. It's time to live within our means. We take in like $5.5 trillion of money. We can't figure out how to work within that. Maybe a little bit less so we can start.
You know, why is this happening? I mean, think about it. We need to tank the Fed. We need to tank the Fed. So the Fed needs to collapse. So in other words, you need to build up the debt and destroy the Fed once and for all.
Paying down the debt? I think behind the scenes, that's the message Donald Trump is actually trying to send. And that's why he hasn't gone after Elon Musk.
Don't you worry. Have a listen to this. Is it this one here? There we go.
Turns out my prediction yesterday was a little bit off. So I'm like 65-1. Still more right than Jim Cramer, at least. But I'm not above being wrong. And if I am, look, I'll come on here and say it. I said yesterday that this Trump-Musk tiff was part of a plan to tank the bill. And I had based that on the fact that Trump had not fired back at Elon and off the fact that somebody in the White House told me that everything was fine. It's clearly not today. And look, I'll be honest, this like really hurts my soul, okay? And I'm not even going to take a side here. These two were doing awesome things together. And it popped off a few hours ago when Trump was asked in the Oval Office very casually about Elon's opposition to the bill.
I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem.
And Elon responded with a tweet saying, quote, "False, this bill was never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it."
Do you see that? False. The bill was never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of the night so fast that almost no one in Congress could ever read it. So what is happening right now, it's a future-proof past. So you think about the omnibus bill. Well, the omnibus bill works on the same principle as the one big beautiful bill. And it's basically a future-proof past. It's to show the level of corruption. It's to expose the level of the corruption, ladies and gentlemen. How do you reintroduce a narrative of what they were doing in the past, what was really going on? You got to reintroduce a narrative and using that, as I said, coincidence that they called it the, Build Back Better and then Big Beautiful Bill? No. Still, who's the one that's been doing it? Contrast President Trump. Remember, President Trump didn't leave. But however, the contrast needs to be shown. Now, you think about this. What was done in the past, it's exposing And you're seeing what that gentleman here is doing. He's exposing it, and he's showing you how they don't bother reading the bill, how they operate. And this is not the first little rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. They do it all the time. And not just over in the States, they do it everywhere. That's how they operate. And he's exposing it. So it's a future-proof past. We get it.
Congress could even read it. Okay, like first off, there's probably a gray area in here. Like Elon probably knew a lot about this bill. Was he thrilled with it? We all knew he wasn't. But like, I'm not totally sure where the actual realism is. But I'm inclined to believe that there's a bunch of people in the middle that have muddied these waters. And it's not necessarily between Trump and Elon, because there's no...
I think now this is where he's going to blame Congress. He's saying, no, it's not between Trump or Elon, it's Congress. He smashes it over there. Let's have a listen.
No way these two would just randomly blow up like this. So what happened? Did Mike Johnson tell Trump that Elon was fine with this? I mean, Elon is the guy who's been posting bills so people can read them. And as we showed you yesterday, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a usually very thorough member of Congress, she didn't read the bill, because the normal 72-hour hold on any bill before voting for something so you could, read it, it was suspended to expedite the voting of this bill. And this has been my concern, that this bill...
See how they use these underhanded techniques? And he's explaining it. This is not, as I said, this is something that's a future-proof past scenario. And what they've been doing in the past is now being brought out from dark to light, done by design. And this is for the mass consciousness.
Wasn't great from the beginning, and I tried to say that, and instead I had members of Congress and people from the White House telling me that I should be for it, but the more I find out, the more I feel like I was on the right side of this bill problem. And Elon started dropping receipts. This is what happens when you have a guy who owns the very platform that people communicate on. He has them at his access. And again, this hurts my soul to have this kind of rift, but I don't think Elon's that wrong in his feelings about this bill. Pulling up old tweets from Johnson, who said in 2018, quote, at some point, Congress has to stop this endless cycle of out-of-control deficit spending.
There you go. So they're showing the hypocrisy as well. Have a look at that hypocrisy. At some point, Congress has to stop this endless cycle of out-of-control deficit spending. But you're raising the debt ceiling, 5.1 trillion. But then I think President Trump spoke about they're not accounting for the amount of tariffs or the money that they're receiving, the profits from tariffs and stuff like that, to be able to, make it, shall we say, look, a lot more better. They're not including that. So the money that he's getting from tariffs, they're not including that in the equation.
Yeah. Also, we pulled one up from Senate Majority Leader John Thune, quoting him in a 2011 CNN op-ed where he said, quote, balanced budget or bust, at Leader John Thune.
So they're doing exactly the complete opposite now. So you had Speaker Johnson saying, about not doing, the spending and overspending and all that, having a, shall we say, like John Thune there, balanced budget. And now it's like they're doing the opposite.
Elon even reached into the archives on Trump, who said, in 2013, I cannot believe the Republicans are extending the debt ceiling. I am a Republican and I am embarrassed.
Even President Trump saying it. Now, what you can comprehend is this, that this has all been done by design. It's a future-proof past to expose the corruption. That corruption will lead somewhere. It will point to senior public officials, one way, shape or form. And this has all been done for a reason. President Trump doesn't do nothing for no reason. So how do you expose Elon's little misgivings? Because people don't realize that money was funneled from the taxpayer to SpaceX and to other Elon's, shall we say, companies, that Obama was profiting, he was profiting, and others involved. Now think about who are the others. Well, there are others involved, ladies and gentlemen, like Prince Aloid, that's got investments, our lead, with Elon Musk. And there are others as well.
Okay. I mean, this is kind of what I've been saying for years. We voted for these things like fiscal conservatism. We were promised spending cuts, and that's what Elon's frustration is here. I think he kind of blew up a little bit irrationally on Trump today. But the guy gave up. I get it, Elon, okay? Like, you've done awesome things. You gave up time at your company. You camped out on the floor of the EEOB across from the White House. You ate cold pizza and McDonald's. You worked 20 hours a day, and you got death threats, and people burned down your stores to help. And you did it to help us fix the government for free. For free. I get it. You have every right to be annoyed at this bill. But don't take it out on the man. Yeah, like, fix the government in the way that all the people who ran for office promised they would do, and that's what you did. You came in there and tried to do that, but they just didn't do it. So I get why you're upset. And the first chance, look, man, I'm with you on this. The first chance that those people who ran on fiscal conservatism got, the first bill that they put forward on this, they raised the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. Guys, this breaking point was bound to happen. I have been saying it for literally years. You can't run for office. You can't have 500 people, 535 people run for office. And I think most of the frustration on Elon is coming directed at Congress, to be honest. This breaking point had to happen at some point. You can't promise to be a very ideologically driven base, that you're fiscally conservative. Look, I'm part of that base. What did you think was going to happen, Mike? We were promised fiscal sanity. Many of you even promised a balanced budget, like John Thune.
The thing is that he says Mike Johnson, John Thune. Doesn't President Trump say he wants it to pass? He's the one that's saying it. So he's the one, he's like, no, I'm not going to blame him. I'm going to blame Johnson and Thune. But at the end of the day, if President Trump's telling him to get it passed, as he has been saying it publicly, why don't you go and say that to President Trump then? No. Do you see, there's always a scapegoat, isn't there? But this has all been done for a reason. As I said, think about it from this perspective. Number one, it's a future-proof past, as I said. To show that how they work as far as the Congress, they don't bother reading the bill, they don't do their due diligence, their responsibilities, they don't do it. They also slip in things. That's how they've been able to get away with it. So they've basically stuffed so much pork in the bill, and money's just flying left, right, and centre into people's pockets. And then it's the way they pass it as well, is they fatigue the Congress people. They get them tired. They do it at an ungodly hour. And then they stuff things at the last minute as well. Everything's done by design to fatigue them. Now, this is another way of showing that, reintroducing it into the narrative, but also think about it from this perspective as well. As I said, how do you tank an economy? You increase the debt, don't you? Now, we said that they need to destroy the Fed. They need to destroy it once and for all. Now, what did he also come out and just say, President Trump? That Elizabeth Warren, good old Pocahontas, and him agree upon one thing, and that is to get rid of the debt ceiling once and for all. Get rid of it so it no longer exists. Because, obviously it's a mechanism that was created by the cabal, done by design, because, this whole system that the cabal has created is based on usury. And if, putting if the countries that debt, the people are all in debt because they calculate it per person. It's about keeping us in a state of debt, in a state of failure constantly. That's what it is. And President Trump needs to destroy it once and for all. Now think about this. Q also says that gold shall destroy the Fed. And we've been noticing that gold has been increasing in value. So that's indicative that they are preparing, and also the amount of stockpiling of gold that's going on at this point is phenomenal. So they're stockpiling gold, and even though President Trump was supposed to go with Elon to good old Fort Knox, we forget about that one. But this is the thing. I mean, you need to destroy this whole system of usury, debt slavery. And the only way you're going to do it is to put so much debt on it where it just decimates it, completely destroys it.
And he came with the receipts. Elon came with the receipts where Mike Johnson was concerned about the debt only 2 years ago. I get why Elon's so angry. He gave up everything to do this Doge thing. His stock tanked at his company. He lost contracts with other countries. And the Democrat Party, which he was once loved by, completely turned on him. The guy gave up literally everything to help fix the government, and he feel like he got backhanded. Still, I don't like what he did to Trump. Again, not taking a side here. Still love Trump, and I really like Elon. This is just a really crappy scenario right now, and I really hope these two can patch these things up, because I think Elon took a low blow by tweeting that, quote, DJT was on the Epstein client list. I mean, something that he knows can't be immediately verified. Also, if Trump was on that island doing something illegal, after all the legal battles that Biden threw at him, if he had done something illegal with Jeffrey Epstein, you would think they would have thrown that at him, no? They pulled...
That's right. He's correct. You think about it, the deep state, if they had something on Trump. Now, what is Epstein Island? Let's talk about Epstein Island. Isn't that a honeypot operation? It is, isn't it? So basically, all these elites that are involved there and doing all these nefarious activities with children and all that sort of stuff, don't you think they would have had videos on Trump to keep him, do you think the deep state, right, wouldn't have used it by now? Think again. Think again. He's right what he's saying.
Out the stops on everything else. The only thing we can point to that was a known association with Epstein was that he was at his club once. And by the way, Trump kicked him out of that club because of reported bad behavior. And also, Elon, if you knew he was on...
Yeah, this is another point. He makes a very valid point here. Elon, if you'd known that Trump had done all that nefarious stuff on Epstein Island, then why would you trust little X around President Trump if you think that he was involved with nefarious activities?
On the Epstein client list, why did you let him board Marine One with your son? Just asking.
No,
but the best thing
point
for Trump to do now is to release the list, something that also our FBI and Pam Bondi have promised us.
Yeah, no, so that's the other thing. Why isn't Bondi, Patel, Bongino? That's the question. Why have they released the list or the files? And the question is, the answer is this, ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason for it. And it all ties to the state of Israel. We know that Epstein Island, okay, you had Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Jeffrey Epstein was a puppet, controlled, right? And a puppet, you control them because of all the things that you have on them. Now, who was Epstein's handler? It was Ghislaine Maxwell. And Ghislaine's Maxwell father, Robert Maxwell, is definitely a Mossad asset. And we all know where the Mossad ties into. State of Israel. Hugh Hefner. Another honeypot operation. There are so many different honeypot operations. Now, as I said, if he'd done all that, don't you think they would have pulled it out already? Makes only logical sense. The deep state would have deployed something against Trump and it would have been game over. So we know President Trump wouldn't have done these things.
But also, Elon, again, appreciate your help, dude. but some people in the House are telling me that this is originating from potentially the EV tax credits as well, which I don't know if that's true.
The EV tax credits. Well, hold on a minute. President Trump just said it on his Truth Social. He said that ever since Elon, he knew about this, but he said that that President Trump said in his Truth that ever since he brought it, about the EV tax, removing the EV, what was it? Let's go back to that one there. We was talking about the EV business. When he did that Elon cracked it.
Potentially the EV tax credits as well.
Yeah, the tax credits.
Which I don't know if that's true, because you were in favor of deleting them a few years ago.
Do we need support for gas stations? We don't. So there's no need for this for support for a charging network.
There you go. So he's going and he's basically doing a flashback, like I did a flashback in 2017 about him pulling out of the Paris Accord. So him leaving President Trump because President Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord.
I would delete it. Delete.
Look, I don't know what to believe here. My hope is that this is just a spat, unfortunately very public spat, between two bros, and it's going to be patched up tomorrow. Look, Trump threatened his space contract. Elon tweeted out a low blow. And tomorrow I'm hoping it'll be fine. I mean, that's like in a perfect world for me. But I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. Trump has genuinely kept most of his promises. I haven't seen any evidence of Elon ever being dishonest either. But I do know that Congress basically lies to us every 2 years to get elected. So I think Congress may be the secret problem here. Promising Trump everything he wanted, Mike Johnson did that, then making a bloated bill that led to Elon being annoyed, that led to Trump making a benign comment from the Oval Office today, that led to a tweet about the Epstein client list. Like, either way, man, this kind of stuff, this is what Democrats do. We as Republicans don't do this. We shouldn't be doing this. And if I could sit down with Trump and Elon right now at a table, I'd be like, look, you guys, you could literally conquer the world together. Probably other worlds, too. I mean, Mars is on the deck. Can we just hug it out for the sake of the country? Honestly.
Hug it out. But Elon's committed to all this treason. Can you hug that one out?
I think I speak for most of America right now. And at least the people who voted for Trump, probably. Because nobody's happy about this. And I don't care if some liberal network quotes me on that. I just want to make America great again.
Oh, okay. He wants to make America great again. And, the thing is, see, this is the thing. You ask yourself the question, do these people, these reporters, journalists, presenters, do they know what's going on? Do they know what's really going on? Because, we know that Elon has been involved with Obama. Obama destroyed the space program, the shuttle program, in order to funnel money into SpaceX. SpaceX also is involved with North Korea. They're building their tech and creating all these miniature nukes. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I think, it's a future, as I said, I don't think I know. It's definitely a future-proof past. Number one, it's a future-proof past with the sense of the bill. Okay, how they use omnibus bills and how they stuff it full of pork and how it just proves that the Congress people do not care and do not do their proper, due diligence, and they don't bother reading, and they sign it away, and God knows where everyone's money is going. Then, this thing here, it's another future-proof past with what's happening with Elon. The EV mandate that what it says there, that they try to force, that's right, to buy the electric cars. That's, and then President Trump said no, and he went crazy. It's another future-proof past. Because in the past, President Trump said no to the Paris Accord, which is to do with his green scam. And he left. So it's just another future-proof past. Then we went into the 237Q drop, and we know that it's connecting to Elon Musk, North Korea, SpaceX, their involvement with Obama, destroying the space program, and getting the missile the missile technology from NASA, from other military programs outside of the public domain. Everything's just going to come out to the wash, to the forefront, which it needs to. So how was that? That was pretty good, wasn't it? Now, let's have a look at this. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, President Trump was visited today by German chancellor, right? And he, at the very beginning, number one, he received a birth certificate to do with his grandfather, and he didn't look quite impressed, to be quite honest. Let's have a look.
Absolutely, sure. So to let you know, this is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim.
Right?
Yeah.
That's called
And his
Sirius.
Christian name was Friedrich.
Right? That's serious German.
Serious German.
That's serious. Bad Dürkheim is serious German. But I want to thank you very much for, first of all, I want to thank you for that. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Fantastic. We'll put it up in a place of honor.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, let's see, to put it up there someplace. It's an honor to have you. As you know,
Rightio. So he got his little gift. But the thing is, as you know, President Trump, when he has these little guests from overseas, he lets them know certain things that, hey, I'm not going to sit there and suck up your bum. Forget about it. He actually does give it a bit to this guy. Let's have a listen.
what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, and other things we talk about, but Russia, Ukraine in particular. I'd like to see it end, and maybe it'll end, but we get some news, there'll be some fighting.
Well, you know what's going to happen. Putin, we're waiting for Putin to react any moment now. And he says, well, you know, we're waiting for some fighting to happen, so there you go.
Something happened a couple of days ago, and now they do a return, and, you know, here it goes. It's not good. He's unhappy about it. I'm unhappy about it. But I think eventually we're going to be successful in stopping the bloodshed. It's pure bloodshed. 6,000 young soldiers a week are being killed. You know that those numbers.
Yeah, we know the numbers.
They're staggering. They're staggering numbers. We like fixing things up and having them tippy top like they have in Germany.
He said the word tippy top, didn't he? We've heard that little tippy top somewhere before, haven't we? Quite a few times. Tippy top. Let's see if we can find it in the Q drops, ladies and gentlemen. Tippy top. Oh, here we go. Found it. Q drop 991. Tippy top shape. It was requested. Did you listen today? There we go. We heard it today. There we go. Tippy top shape. Okay. So thank you very much, President Trump, for those comms. We much appreciate it. We know what you're talking about. Everything is in tippy top shape under your control.
Germany? They do that in Germany very much.
Our history, we owe the Americans a lot. We will never forget about that.
Now here, we'll owe America a lot from history because, yeah, we know what we're talking about, the good old Nazi days. That's what they're talking about there. Okay. And I think President Trump does remind him of, because I think what happened is with the Nazis after that era, that they didn't allow Germany to build themselves up militarily. I think that's exactly what happened. All right, let's continue.
Thank you for the hospitality, and thank you for having your guest house for a night. This is a great place. Great place. Many thanks for that. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's a wonderful place. It's a landmark also. And Blair House, it's a nice place to stay. It's great.
Mr. President, on your new travel ban, why now? And if the Boulder attack was part of your reasoning, why not include Egypt on that list where the suspect is from?
Well, because Egypt has been a country that we deal with very closely. They have things under control. The countries that we have don't have things under control. And why now? I can say that it can't come soon enough. Right?
And you know that with that Boulder episode, if you watch my previous one, we went through that whole thing. It's, yeah, that whole thing's staged.
We're not stopping until we get them out. We have thousands of murderers. I even hate to say this in front of the chancellor. Of course, you have a little problem, too, with some of the people that were allowed into your country. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It shouldn't have happened. I told her it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, told her meaning Merkel. Because Merkel was allowing, let's just call them undesirables. And look, with these illegal aliens or migrants, whatever you want to call them, they're still people. They're pawns. Think about it from this perspective. They make their lives so difficult and hard, and they use them as pawns. Soros was a culprit for that. Soros was about, these open borders, but who were the ones that were allowing that to happen? As President Trump says, I blame the ones behind the desk. In other words, these puppets, these presidents and prime ministers and leaders, they're the ones that are the degenerates and they're controlled. Now, President Trump can't be controlled. He doesn't play ball. He wants to do what's best for the country and best for the world. And Merkel was about, think about this. You got the EU. Now, the moment the EU, say, were formed and all that, it took over the sovereignty of all the countries. Now, you think about it that, all these things that, policies on immigration and all that, no, the country you cannot make that decision in the European Union, one of the countries, no. The unelected bureaucrats that's part of the EU are the ones that make that decision. And you know that Angela Merkel was up on the top of the food chain, so Germany is right up the top, and they control. Well, we know they control the money and all that sort of thing to do with the EU. And we know that what was Hitler's intention, the 1,000-year right. And because, we know that, Hitler lost the war or whatever. No, it's a bunch of crap. They went underground. As in, it was Operation Paperclip. We know there are things that are coming out from the CIA vaults to do with Hitler went to Argentina or South America. There is so much that's hidden from us, it's unbelievable. But people think that the war was won by the West. No, we can say that that's not the case. So, in other words, to cut a long story short, Angela Merkel, she had control of the EU through the money as well, but also to do with the migrants. See, Soros and all that would work in conjunction, and they were notorious for using people as pawns in order to weaken. And you think about it, you see how these countries in the EU are all weak. They really are weak. They're taking away their economy, their sovereignty, and they flood them with immigrants. Done by design. And President Trump is letting him know what the take is, that he knows, he's aware.
You did, but you have your own difficulty with that, and we do, and we're moving them out, and we're moving them out very strongly. We had a very good conversation with President Xi a little while ago, just before your arrival. In fact, we just hung up, and they said, "You're here." I said, "That's pretty good." Two great leaders of the world in a very short period of time. We had a very good talk, and we've straightened out any complexity, and it's very complex stuff, and we straightened it out. having to do mostly with rare earth magnets and some other things. By the way,
Yeah, so with the US, they get a lot of rare earth and they material. So you'll be surprised also that Russia supplies the uranium for the US as it stands.
he invited me to China, and I invited him here. We both accepted. So I'll be going there with the First Lady at a certain point, and he'll be coming here hopefully with the First Lady of China. Well, remember, I'm the one that ended Nordstream 2, going to a place called Germany. Comes.
There you go. So he ropes them in. So he's saying, remember the time when Nord Stream 2, remember President Trump stopped it and Germany were involved? And he tells them, he reminds them.
I'm sorry I did that. But I ended Nord Stream 2. Nobody else did. He's a very great representative of Germany. I think all we want is just going to have a good relationship. The rest will just sort of follow very easily. We'll have a good trade deal. I mean, I guess that will be mostly determined by the European Union, but you're a very big part.
There you go. So you hear what he just said, that we're going to have a good trade deal, but it's determined. He's telling you, look at what President Trump's saying, that it's not up to a specific country, it's up to the European Union. So it's up to the unelected bureaucrats to decide the trade business, not him, not the countries. It's all done by design, and President Trump is exposing it.
So you'll be involved. We'll end up hopefully with a trade deal, or we'll do something. You know, we'll do the tariffs. I mean, I'm okay with the tariffs, or we make a deal with the trade, and I guess that's what we're discussing now. Yeah. Discussed it very much. I know that you're spending more money on defense now, and quite a bit more money. That's a positive thing.
So basically he's saying, I know that you're spending more money on your defense, and then he says, well, you know, he talks about, he refers to what happened back in the day of Nazis. How maybe it's a bad thing that they're doing it. Because remember, after that incident, they stopped Germany from gaining its, shall we say, military power.
I'm not sure that General MacArthur would have said it's positive, you know. He wouldn't like it, but I sort of think it's good. You understand what I mean by that, right? He made a statement, never let Germany rearm.
Never let Germany rearm. So that atrocity never happens again.
And I said, I always think about that when he says, sir, we're spending more money on defense. I say, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. But, you know, at least to a certain point. There'll be a point when I'll say, please don't arm anymore, if you don't mind. We'll be watching him. Yeah, Biden, you said Biden.
You know, it makes me like, you know that he's not joking. You sit there and, oh, yeah, ha, ha, ha. No, you know what he's saying.
Your predecessor dismissed your audit investigations and made all the decisions during the presidency.
So now they're going to go and investigate Biden's auto pen. Okay.
I'm curious reaction to his dismissal.
Well, look, the auto pen, I think, is the big scandal outside of the rigged election of 2020. I think the big.
So he's saying that the auto pen was a big scandal. We know it was a scandal, but there are other key words that he says.
Biggest scandal of the last many years is the auto pen.
The biggest scandal, all right, especially when, as President Trump has come out and said, you know, he was executed in 2020, mindless robots and clones, so forth and so forth.
And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay, because I'm here, signature. And I.
You heard what he just said.
The auto pen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay.
Yeah, you know, right, because it was you.
Okay, because I'm here, signature.
Because I'm here. Did you hear what he just said?
Audit investigations and made all the decisions during the presidency. I'm curious reaction to his dismissal.
Well, look, the auto pen, I think, is the big scandal outside of the rigged election of 2020. I think the biggest scandal of the last many.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, people think the scandal, the 2020 elections, I mean, they've been saying it's rigged. Think about this, rigged 2020. We hear it all the time. 6th of Jan. Have you seen anything come out of it? Have you seen any investigations into the 2020 rigged election, the Jan 6 investigation? Have you seen anything come out of it? No, you haven't. is because they're the ones that have been behind it. All right, remember, it's all about this whole Biden era. Now, President Trump has come out, and you've seen it on Truth Social, that he wasn't around. Biden was executed. He said it, 2020, all that sort of thing. So based on that information alone, then who's been running the show? Well, he has. We've been through this. We know that it's been him doing it. Now, even I did that whole decode on January 6th, and I've shown you that the whole thing was staged. We did that whole massive decode, and it's here on the Freedom Channel broadcast if you want to watch it. But yeah, I did a whole decode on it, and I went through all the video footage, and I explained it was all staged. Now, think about it. How do you provide contrast? And that's what people got to realize, that what is important is to win the hearts and the minds of the masses. And in order to do that, remember, there was a risk of civil war. So in order to overcome that risk, they had to provide a contrast. And remember, the mainstream media, the deep state, were painting him in a bad light when he was 45th president. Now, fast track forward, we had the Biden era. We know that was all controlled by them to provide contrast, so the masses would organically say, you know what, under Biden, all this happened. And President Trump would go around and he made sure that people knew what Biden was doing because he was the one doing it. And we just got to realize that this is necessary in order for people to get it. Because otherwise it would have been civil war. Remember, people would defend the very system that enslaves them. They don't know any better. So you need to wake them up in stages, and you also, as Q says, pain brings awareness, and that's necessary as well.
Years is the auto pen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay?
Yeah, we know it was you.
Because I'm here.
Because I'm here. Because I happen to know who's using it because I'm here. Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? He's actually declaring it. When you really listen to what he's saying. Let's go back.
Of the last many years is the auto pen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay, because I'm here.
There you go. Admission. He's admitting it.
Signature. And I can tell AutoPen easily. I can look at it. Like two little pinholes from pulling the paper, right? You always see the pinholes. Yeah. It's real easy to tell about AutoPen. But I'm sure that he didn't know many of the things. Look, he was never for open borders. He was never for transgender.
He was never for open borders. Well, hold on a minute. I thought he was. He was never for open borders. He was never for transgender. But I thought he was all for it. And he came out. Think about what he's saying. Don't you remember when whoever's playing Biden went out there and he was saying all these things? Oh, you know, about transgender and this and that. And he did that whole thing out in the White House with all the multi-vomit coloured flags and all the rest of it. And all those, remember all that debauchery taking place on the White House lawns? Yeah, no. This is what I'm saying. You got to get that this is all staged.
For everybody. He was never for men playing in women's sports.
Yeah, he was never for it. Never for this, never for that. I mean, how can you be for something if you got a mouthful of flies? If you get my drift.
I mean, he changed. I mean, all of these things that changed so radically. I don't think he had any idea that what was, frankly, I said it during the...
You had no idea because he was dead. Because according to you and what you put out on Truth Social.
The debate, and I say it now, he didn't have much of an idea what was going on.
Yeah, when you're dead, you don't have no idea.
He shouldn't be. I mean, essentially, whoever used the auto pen was the president.
There you go. Do you get what I mean? He's double speaking. Did you hear what he said before? And he's saying again, whoever's using the one that is using the auto pen is the president, meaning him. That's what it means. Okay? You get it, ladies and gentlemen? Just give me a thumbs up if you hear what I said. That he has been declaring that he's the one that's using the auto pen. And then didn't only admit it once, he's admitted it quite a few times.
Will you lead the troops in Germany? And if I may ask a question to the chancellor to answer in German for the German audience, how is your first account of it?
The answer is yes. We'll talk about that. But if they'd like to have them there, yeah. We have a lot of them, about 40.
Yeah, no, I like that little spear tip of yours there, President Trump. We know what that means. Yes, we know what that means. We know that means, yeah, basically they're screwed.
5,000. It's a lot of troops. It's a city, when you think of it. That's good economic development. They're highly paid troops, and they spend a lot of money in Germany.
That's interesting, isn't it? You know, they obviously don't want Germany to build themselves up militarily, and they've got a lot of troops in Germany, the US, just to make sure that they don't. Probably.
But the relationship with Germany is very important, yeah.
The criticism that I've seen, I'm sure you've seen, regarding Elon Musk and your big, beautiful bill. What's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which is, of course, what is you're seeking?
Well, look, I've always liked Elon.
You know what makes me laugh? I always like Elon. Yeah, no. If we go to the past, President Trump, didn't he ditch you at the time of the Paris Accord with his mate from Disney? I think they did. That's exactly what happened in 2017. I've always loved Elon. I liked Elon.
So I was very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about 1.6 trillion in cuts. It's the biggest tax cut. You would say people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. It's we are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable. And when you look at what we're doing for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all of the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And, Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate and...
There we go. What he said before, in truth, because we took the EV mandate. Remember, under Biden, we know who Biden is. Yeah, haha. They had the EV mandate and he's taking it away. And because of that, can you see this is a stage? Might as well, have a curtain there that moves up and down. Since we're watching, a stage, a movie.
Which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. And, they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles. And they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And, Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. You hear what he said? There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Elon, he knew it from the beginning. He knew it from a long time ago. Oh, yes, he did. He knew it from a long time ago because especially back in 2017, you made sure that he knew it. Okay, remember about the Paris Accord? With his mate from Disney? No, we're leaving. We're leaving because you're not going with us, with that Paris Accord where we can make a bit of cash. No. I'm going to use climate change as an excuse to make, to keep us in the Paris Accord. That's what they've been doing. People don't realize that our leaders, what a bunch of degenerates. And I'm talking about in Australia, New Zealand, all over the world, Canada, you name it. All of them in that Paris Accord. We've got to remember, what do? Always put the fear of the devil in us, or, the fear of God, and say to us, the ice caps are melting. It was rebadged from global warming to climate change, and just fear. And then they bring that rhetoric into the movies. Oh, like what's that movie, 2012, and all these other movies to do with climate change. Oh, yeah. The Day After Tomorrow, all these movies done by design. They use the documentaries to do it as well. They use the mainstream media. They use the government. They use, education, which we know is indoctrination. And they brainwash the masses to the point where they echo it all over the place. Oh, did you hear about, Antarctica? It's melting away. I've got some iceberg that's floating up. And God, please, God, let's not hope that thing smashes into our land. No. That's a bunch of crap. It's all done by design. Oh, no, can you stop it? Can you stop it? That's what people do. Oh, can you stop it? Just give all our taxpayers money and make it go away. Yeah, I didn't know money can make that sort of stuff go away, that it doesn't exist in the first place. And Elon was part of that little grift, just like many others, just like our leaders. And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't you like to see your leaders held accountable for their crimes? Because, the amount of trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars, while there are people that are going through floods, natural disasters, haven't got food on the table, can't afford to, fix their teeth, can't do this, can't do that. And yet trillions and trillions of our dollars are going across there goes into pockets. I think it's enough's enough, ladies and gentlemen. I think the truth needs to come out. And you know what I'm saying? This Doge creation, it's like this. It's like a big FU to Elon. Because you think about it, number one, Elon didn't get it, as I said, how did he become the world's billionaire? From screwing people over. Getting money from the taxpayer in indirect ways. We know how it was all done. Okay? Using his SpaceX companies, all these companies, and with the help of Obama and all that's, entities to get the money across. Now, those days are finished. President Trump basically put an end to that in 2017. He totally brought that down and completely wiped it off. Now, Elon's obviously had some bad blood. That bad blood is against President Trump. And he's saying, he knew it a long time ago, back in those days. Yes, and obviously its future proves past again. And it's happening again. That's why, it's reintroducing a narrative. And Doge is going to expose the amount of corruption, number one. What did Elon want to do? Think about this. Didn't Elon want to put his friend Jared into the position of the leader of NASA? Why? It's another future proves past. It's to be able to hide the corruption of NASA and all these sort of things. No, President Trump decided that conflicts with the America First agenda. And he's also gone out and recorded and said it. And therefore, no, we're not going to have that person, Jared, Elon's friend, run NASA. Because guess what? The time is coming where people are going to know about the NASA fraud. What NASA was made for, what it was used for, the animation department, all that sort of stuff, the amount of crap that they've been spinning in order to get the taxpayers' dollars in there. Billions and billions of dollars in there. Care of the taxpayer. And it's all one big fat scam. Now, I'm looking forward to the day where the truth comes out about NASA, and the truth comes out, because we know what NASA means. It's, minus T is Satan, and then you minus T and you got NASA. NASA, which means to deceive. Been through that many times. Now, deception, all right? Wouldn't you like to see, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you like to see what the truth is about NASA? To see what they're really all about. and the money that's been going in there. And where has it been going? How about they use Doge there? And then they'll find out another thing. Where's the money from the, and it's already coming out into mass consciousness, ladies and gentlemen. It's already coming out how President Trump is, this space thing that he wants to, seize it. Now you think about it, what have I been saying? You take control over something, you can see what's going on. Well, think about it. Could President Trump seize the space station or the SpaceX? He can. Remember executive orders, what they do. Oh, they do a lot of stuff. And the thing is, it's already happened. That's the thing. Things are already happened. But it's got to make sense. It's got to translate to the mass consciousness. And it's got to be done a certain way. So you're going to see certain things that are going to come to play, and it's going to expose Elon's connections, and Obama's connected to it, and SpaceX is connected to it, and all these other nefarious characters are connected to it who have invested in SpaceX and all these other entities. It's going to be a great day, ladies and gentlemen, when the truth does come out. That's all I'm saying.
That's been. I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, Mr. Secretary. That hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, he recommended somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well.
There we go.
Sure, he respected him, but
he's going to speak about Jared. About this guy called Jared, that President Trump said, no, sorry, Jared, it ain't happening. Sorry, no dice, Jared, forget about it, all right? And Elon obviously got upset that Jared didn't get the part, because what do you think is going on? Jared is somebody that's friends with Elon. And who do you think that Jared's allegiance lies to? It would be good old Elon, wouldn't it? So President Trump told, sorry, Jared, we got Raising Cain that's going to find somebody else to do the job. And as I said, things are going to come out. They're going to use the very system. Remember, the deep state, Elon was part of it. And they're going to use this Doge system, the very thing that, now think about Doge. What did it mean before? It wasn't Department of Government Efficacy or Efficiency, whatever it is. It was something else. It was to do with the coin, the Doge coin. Right? And that was a little Elon sort of thing. They're going to use something that Elon loved and all that and turn it against him. Can you see the irony, ladies and gentlemen? It's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely phenomenal.
To run NASA, and I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat.
Let's use that. He happened to be a Democrat. No, we're not going to allow that because we've got voted in and we can bring in a Republican.
Like totally Democrat. And I say, look, we won. We get certain privileges, and one of the privileges, we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important.
Remember, President Trump needs some sort of scapegoat. No. And he's using the Democrat as a scapegoat. Realistically speaking, he knows why. It's because you're not going to put someone that's connected to Elon.
But we have great people. General Kane is going to be picking somebody with our, we'll be checking him out, seeing, but he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye.
The black eye. He said about the black eye. Oh, yeah, we know what the black eye means. The eye of Ra, right? We've been through that. Yeah, no, the good old eye of Ra. The black eye is something that is all the symbolism. Remember, the right eye is the eye of Ra, and the left eye represents the eye of Horus. We know the eye of Horus represents the moon, and the left eye represents the moon, the right eye represents the sun. And he's saying, yeah, and even the black eye. Now, I'm wondering, did they give him the black eye and give him an attitude adjustment? That would have been great, wouldn't it, before the cameras went on? But no, this is the thing. Symbolism will be their downfall.
I said, do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so. Which
You go, now think about what he's saying. That would you like to put some makeup? Now he says, no, I don't think so. Why would you refuse? In other words, you want to be seen. You want to be seen wearing that black eye. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen it if there was no makeup.
is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is. So
he wants to be, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was the statement right there. He wants to be who he is. And that is a deep state piece of shit that he is. All right. And obviously it goes back to what I said. You know, what I said about the right eye. That's it. About the right eye. What he's all about. And that is, he worships Ra. Like it said, the eye of Ra, like it said in that Q drop before that I showed you. You can't make this stuff up.
you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if it went well anymore. I was surprised because...
No, you won't have any more. Do you say, no, I don't know if I'll have it anymore. No, you won't.
You were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about...
There you go. He was right about everything, and he is right about everything. I mean, he was right in the past. Remember when Elon left he left him for the, you know, the Paris Accord?
The great, big, beautiful bill. Elon knew that. Elon endorsed me very strongly. He actually went up and campaigned for me. I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway. Even.
So remember when Elon's gone out there and he said, without me, you wouldn't have won. And he said, oh, and then President Trump saying, I don't need you, and I would have won anyway.
And if you pick Shapiro or anybody else, I spoke to him recently about his house being set on fire, which was terrible.
There we go. Yeah, you heard about that. Governor Shapiro, yeah, his house on fire. At the same time, to do with what happened in Boulder, Colorado. Yes, anti-Semitism, that little rhetoric.
But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And it really is.
There you go. Billions and billions of dollars. He's showing you that. Think about it. What was Elon there really for, he's saying? Was he there to basically help America, or was he there for himself? Future proves past again. So basically, he was there to enrich himself, just like future proves past, like he tried to do in the past with the Paris. You know, during the time, there was Obama that organized that little thing. And obviously, Elon was getting cashed up. Now, the cash, when President Trump went in there, he cut the little cash supply, didn't he? And that's when he decided to leave with his mate from Disney. Okay, so you can see what President Trump is doing. A future proves past again. He's showing you that he didn't care about the United States of America. He never gave a shit about America. This is a future proves past. And basically, it's showing again, and President Trump is explaining, ever since I told him about the EV mandates, no, it shows that he was there for the proviso that President Trump was going to do those EV mandates so he can make billions and billions of dollars. So it's a future proves past again. Genius, isn't it?
It's unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have all, we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, it became a little bit different, and I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next.
President Trump knew. He knows. Look, this is the thing. We got to realize that this is all part of the script. Let's just call it what it is. It's a part of the script in order to bring in and introduce a narrative. So you can go future proofs past.
But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Mr. President, I just want to clarify, did he raise any of these concerns with you privately before he raised them publicly? And this is the guy you put in charge of cutting spending. Should people not take him seriously about spending now? Are you saying this is all sour grapes?
No, he worked hard and he did a good job. And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place.
He did a good job. Oh, yes. We know this. Let's go to that little story of Job. You know what that means, don't you? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. When President Trump says, yeah, good job, great job. We know what that means. There's a double meaning. And you know that President Trump uses multiple meanings. And he uses that word Job quite freely, shall we say. The story of Job, ladies and gentlemen, is this. That Job, God tested Job by allowing Satan to test him. Now, good old Elon's been tested by Satan and he failed. And see if he remains faithful and loyal to God. No, none of them remain. That's what you call the puppets. The ones that give in to temptation and allow Satan to take over. The story of Job, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about. President Trump never forgets.
And I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave.
There you go. It's not the first. Like I've been saying, prepare yourself. Yeah, no, it's not going to be the first or the last. There's going to be more coming. Don't you worry about that one. And I've been right about everything. I've been saying, like Rubio and all these others, that President Trump has brought closer. People forget about Rubio. People forget about these others that go around and they badmouth Trump in the past and the nasty things they said and the associations they had with Mr. McCain. No. President Trump never forgets. Don't you worry about that.
My administration, and they love us. And then at some point they miss it so badly. And some of them.
And this is the thing. I've said it over and over and over and over again about how Elon Musk is a bad seed, who is connected to the deep state. And I said he's going to flip, and it's going to flip in a different direction, and he's going to be exposed. I was right again, ladies and gentlemen. I was always right about him. I've been preaching it for many, many years now about Elon, and I was met with some nasty comments. Oh, yes, and you saw the other one. The one that was sitting there preaching how great he is and riding Cybertrucks and laughing it up, and now he's trying to do a 360. No, you've been exposed.
Embrace it, and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it. But we have it with others, too. They leave, and they wake up in the morning, and the glamour's gone.
They leave. They wake up in the morning, and the glamour's gone. Yeah, no, we know what that means, President Trump. The glamour is going to be going very soon for a lot of people. Don't you worry about that one. I get it.
The whole world is different, and they become hostile. I don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it. You'll let us know.
You were very critical of Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. What kind of play is he playing with respect to what I said?
Well, look, he got hit. He's been doing hitting, so I understand it. But he got hit hard, and I don't think he's playing games. I think
they're talking about Putin now, that he got hit and he got hit hard, and now obviously, he said to President Trump, well, you know, now I've got to do what I have to do now. Now, remember, these are controlled military operations designed because I've said, how do you think we're going to get escalation? By people, you know, punching on in DC? You know, like, no. It's got to be something that involves the whole world, the scare necessary event as per QJOP 521 that I speak about constantly.
I've always said he wanted the whole thing. I thought he wanted the entire everything having to do with Ukraine. But it's a very sad thing.
So he's saying about Putin that the reason why he reacted and called Putin crazy and all that was because he thought that Putin wanted to take over the whole of the Ukraine. Now, he may well go down that path because remember, the Ukraine is infested with filth. And I mean literally filth. The Ukraine was created in the 1990s. I think it was in the 1990s. People don't realize that. And the thing is also the Ukraine was before, so the independence of the country, the Ukraine country, the independence of it was in the 1990s before it was part of the Soviet Union. And also the Ukraine, when it was in the days of the Soviet Union, was basically one of the, I think it was the biggest holders of nukes. And they gave them the option. They took it, and that's when they did some agreement. They broke their agreement. I think it was called the Minsk agreement was formed after that. And then the Minsk agreement was, what it was done was by design. So they didn't have any intentions. People got to get that EU, NATO, all that. Their intentions was to always bring in the Ukraine and then to utilize that against Russia. And you're seeing that translate today. So future proofs past again. So that's what's going on.
And I can tell you, just speaking for the chancellor, because we speak about it, he feels the same way. He wants to see it ended. Would you like to say something?
Absolutely. And I'm here, Mr. President, to talk.
So now the chancellor talks, have a listen to what he says. He doesn't want the war to end. Pay attention to what he's saying. He doesn't want the war to end. He just says things like, yeah, he wants it to end, but then he says things that contradict everything that he's saying. And President Trump, look at his hands, are in that formation. So he knows. He knows that what their agenda is. Remember, they work together as the EU. And Germany and all the other countries, they don't have the, shall we say, the other countries, actually, Germany and France are the ones that got quite a bit of power. And it's the other ones that don't. So basically, he knows what they're up to. You saw him with Zelensky not long ago as he was saying, look, we're going to give you the weapons, we're going to give you the money, and we're going to allow you access to allow those missiles, because missiles that operate, and you want to operate, say, long range, they have to have access to a satellite or satellites from the EU or from NATO. Now, if it's NATO, that means you need somebody, a staff member of NATO or staff members of NATO to set it up and give you access to the NATO resources. Now, NATO have been trying to get in there and saying, no, we don't want to have Ukraine part of NATO, but they've been doing it in a very sneaky, underhanded way. And President Trump's watching. He knows what's going on.
Talk with you later on how we could contribute to that goal. And we all are looking for measures and for instruments to bring this terrible war to an end.
Yeah, methods and instruments to bring this terrible war to an end. And he said that he wants to release the use of long-range weapons on Russia. Now, Putin has made it very clear that if you do that, it's on. Now, remember, Putin lowered the nuclear doctrine to allow even conventional weapon attack in the heart of Russia. It's game over. Putin has lowered the doctrine to allow the use of nuclear weapons or, strategic nukes in those sort of scenarios. Now, remember, these are controlled military operations, and we need escalation to bring it across to the other side. Remember, I've always said that mankind, humanity, needs to reach their hour of humility. And the only way, and then also, we need a crash. We need the whole system to crash down, and we need to flip the switch, so to speak. How's that going to happen? Like what Q talks about, scare necessary event. And you're seeing that translate as to the escalation that is building up. People saying, oh, there's peace. There's no peace. China, Taiwan, North Korea, Iran, Israel, Lebanon. You look around you, Russia, Ukraine, all around the world, it's on fire. And you could see that there are all these things that are happening, spot fires, but we want to see them converge into the perfect storm. That's what we're waiting for.
And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary.
So with a D-Day anniversary, when the
Americans once ended the war.
Yeah, they went and ended the war. Yeah, and they basically sorted out Germany
in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant day.
This was not a great day.
In the long run.
No, it wasn't a pleasant day for you. He goes, no, it wasn't a pleasant day for you. Hold on a minute. Well, were you talking about the Nazis didn't have a pleasant day?
Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi.
Okay, so you're saying the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship. But hold on a minute. Really now. Number one, okay, good old Ukraine, the Azov, all them are based on Nazi principles. And yet you've got him wanting to arm to the teeth the Ukraine, Zelensky, and they're connected to the Nazi principles. And you've got Zelensky saying, oh, I'm a Jew, and all that. No, it doesn't make a difference. People don't realize it's one and the same. Ashkenazi, where do you think that word came from? Remember, they create the Axis and the Allies. It's all an illusion.
That's true. That's true.
And we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that America is, again, in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So let's talk about what we can do jointly, and we are ready to do what we can. And you know that we gave support to Ukraine. And
there we go. We gave support to the Ukraine. All to the Ukraine. That's what it's all about. Why are they giving support to the Ukraine? Because they have been using the Ukraine as their personal slush fund. All these countries, ladies and gentlemen, worldwide, have been using the Ukraine as a way of pushing money from the taxpayer into the Ukraine. And then also the Ukraine has bioweapons and labs. That's fact. And also they've committed atrocities. They're organ harvesting and trafficking and children and sex trafficking and the whole 9 yards, so to speak.
And that we are looking for more pressure on Russia. The European Union did, and we should talk about that.
We will talk about it.
Yeah.
So would you consider to put more sanctions on Russia? Because this discussion is going on now for weeks and months, and you tweeted about it once, but then nothing happens. So
when I see the moment when we're not going to make a deal, when this thing won't stop,
is there a deadline?
At that moment, yeah, it's in my brain, the deadline. When I see the moment where it's not going to stop, and I'm sure you're going to do the same thing, will be very, very, very tough.
So basically, President Trump saying, we will use sanctions only if we need to, but he's already got sanctions on Russia. They've learned to become independent. That was done by design. The sanctions, though, is the secondary sanctions that he talks about. So in other words, you go and trade with Russia, you buy this, you buy that, your country is going to be sanctioned. That means you won't be able to deal with the United States. You won't have access to the market.
And it could be on both countries, to be honest. You know, it takes two to tango. But we're going to be very tough. Whether it's Russia or anybody else, we're going to be very tough. That's a bloodbath that's going on over there.
That was a very interesting one. It's a bloodbath. And he says it twice. That constitutes for a mirror.
But sometimes
So he said bloodbath, and he did say it. What does the bloodbath mean? Well, in the Q drops, there's only one drop, ladies and gentlemen, that has the bloodbath. Let's have a look which one it is. And it's not by word, but it's a picture of the bloodbath. And there it is. Q drop 998. And what is the bloodbath taking place, ladies and gentlemen? In Russia, Ukraine. So we've got a 5 of 5, comms are clear. So by no coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, it's to do with this. The illusion of this, shall we say, wars are done to create profit. It's a way of feeding the beast. Think about it. What does Q say about the war? War is a scam. Again, it's a way. Think about what happens. Wars are profits. So when they have a war in the past, so future proofs past, war, what happens? People make money. It's a money-making machine. Now you think about it. How do we get money from the taxpayer into the budget to do with the defense? And does all the money from the taxpayer to the Defense Department and to those contractors that do, produce all the weaponry, I'm sure there's a cut of the pie that goes into others' pockets, such as politicians, such as higher-uppers. And war is profit. Because then guess what? We got to pump money into the country to help that country. Like the Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bloodbath right there. You could see it. And we all know that, look at that. It's got the the star. We know what that means. Okay? And look, Russian, Polish, Hungarian, Ukrainian blood. And you can't call it a coincidence. You just cannot. And that's the only one that has got the bloodbath. The thing is, there's going to be a lot of connections being made when people find out where the money. That's the question. Why do they keep pumping money in the Ukraine? Why do they keep defending it? Because they don't want people to find out. Think about it. If Russia takes over, that means they take over and they've got all the dirt or everything. So what do? You got to and remember, the dirt goes back to foreign entities. Q tells us this, that it goes back to foreign leaders and foreign entities. And what do? You got to keep pumping money in there to defend the Ukraine, so they don't so the Russians don't get access to certain information that leads back to those entities as well. So it's a way of protecting them and their dirty secrets. That's what Zelensky's been doing. Remember also that the Pope has, remember, been involved in this. Now, this is very interesting. The current Pope is basically, shall we say, got a common denominator with Francis. And they used to protect pedophiles. We know that. You wouldn't put someone that's good if you want to bring that whole system down. And that whole system is going to be connected. Remember, City of London, Vatican, and DC. those three are connected. This whole system has to collapse. This whole system. And we know City of London, financial arm. Vatican, spiritual arm. And then you got Washington, D.C., which is the strategic arm, military. This whole system needs to come down. So it's going to be very interesting, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward?
You see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while.
There you go. So he's saying that we're just going to walk away, basically. We're just going to let them fight for a while. But the thing is, as well, is the US still supplying the Ukraine with weapons. And Putin has made it very clear. If they allow access to those long-range weapons, there's going to be problems, because that means that they've got access from NATO to the satellites, and the US are involved as well with NATO. Obviously, NATO, when we think about NATO, the biggest contributor is the US. So Putin has said, if that happens, and you could see that things are escalating.
And then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot, because both sides are suffering, before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have two kids, they fight, and maybe that's a negative because we're saying go, but there's some additional fighting that's going to...
He said go. That's an interesting com, isn't it? Go. Let's go back to that one, what he said.
Children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park.
That's interesting, isn't it? If they're fighting in a park. People don't realize that these are controlled military operations. And President Trump says it's like a demolition site. So in other words, these are staged military operations, and they're controlled to certain areas. They're like kids fighting in a park. A park is a controlled environment.
And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot, because both sides are suffering, before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have two kids, they fight. And
there you go. Fight. Yeah, we know who's behind it, President Trump.
Maybe that's a negative because we're saying go, but...
There we go. We're saying go. Fight, ladies and gentlemen. We know what that means. We know that he's the one in control. And is he giving us a go for green? Well, he said that Putin's going to respond, and it'll be soon. Now, remember, there's been a delay, hasn't it? It's like it happened, what was it, a couple of days ago or so, more than that, where you had the Ukraine go in there, infiltrate into Russia. And Putin has made it clear, if that's the case, there's going to be problems. So we're going to see now how Putin is going to reciprocate. Now, you never tell the enemy when you're going to attack. And we're going to see any moment, ladies and gentlemen, any moment, you will see, you could say, hell will break loose. And anything can happen in an instant.
There's some additional fighting that's going to go on. You know,
additional fighting.
He attacked, and they attacked pretty harshly. They went deep into Russia.
There's going to be a consequence. And you could see that, you think about it, it's like this, the tension is building up on a daily basis. It's going to be very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, very interesting. I'm actually waiting with a bated breath.
And he actually told me, I mean, I made it very clear. He said, we have no choice but to attack based on that. And it's probably not going to be pretty, whipping out nuclear weapons that maybe even affect us.
Right. So he said that what's going to happen now with the attack, it ain't going to be pretty. So in other words, he's expecting something major. Now, remember this. These are all controlled military operations that are taking place, but we need escalation. Now, what he's talking about with India now and Pakistan, how he stopped them from punching on and using nuclear weapons. Otherwise, he said that would have affected us. In other words, the dust would have blown across.
Because, that nuclear dust blows across oceans very quickly. It affects us. The leader of India, who's a great guy, was here.
So he's talking about the Modi.
A few weeks ago, we had some great talks. We're doing a trade deal. And Pakistan, likewise, they have very, very strong leadership.
Now, Pakistan, India. Did you know that with Pakistan, think about this. Let's look at it from a logical standpoint. Number one, right, you had India and you got Pakistan, and we know that those two countries were created back in the 1940s. It was done by the British. Now, Trump is saying about Pakistan, that caught my ear in the sense that, did you know who went to Pakistan to sort out the peace? Who went to Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen? Now think about this. If that particular entity had been nefarious, that would have edged Pakistan on. Instead, they offered to conduct peaceful talks. It was Iran, ladies and gentlemen. Iran flew, they were the first ones to fly to Pakistan to try and get the peace going. Think about that for a moment. Everyone's saying about Iran this and Iran that, but Iran were the ones to go there and call peace. Now, who do you think is in control? Who do you think? You can go and look, ladies and gentlemen, that was Iran. They flew to Pakistan and they offered to do this, the peaceful negotiations between Pakistan and India.
Some people won't like when I say that, but it is what it is. Remember this. They like to say that I'm not friends with anybody. I'm friends with you.
I'm not friends with anybody. Not friends with anybody.
I'm not friends with that. I want the right thing to happen for our country, for everybody, for humanity. But I'm the one that stopped the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. Until I came along, nobody ever heard, not one person in this room ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You probably did because it went to Germany.
Yeah. He's rubbing his face in it because of Germany's involvement.
He's the only one that this was a mistake. And I used to go with Angela. I'd say, well, wait a minute. We're spending all this money to defend you against Russia, and then you're giving Russia billions of dollars a month. What kind of a deal is that? Which was... Do
you continue to support Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm with Ukraine. We just signed a big deal on rare earth with Ukraine.
So basically he's saying, yeah, we support Ukraine. We've got the rare earth deal.
Right. Those beautiful turrets, they call them turrets.
Now, is that a cue? What do you reckon, ladies and gentlemen? Let's just go very slowly. I don't know if I can slow it down somehow. Let's see. Can we slow it down? Playback. Here we go. Speed. Let's go slower. All right.
Yeah, I'm with Ukraine. We just signed a big deal on rare earth with Ukraine. Those beautiful turrets. They call them turrets.
So he went and did a spin like that.
Little towers. Beautiful.
There we go. So he did a double one. He did it once. He did it twice. For me, ladies and gentlemen, that constitutes for a Q. What, ladies and gentlemen, what do you constitute for? A Q plus. Because Q and Q together gives us a Q plus. And who's the one that's doing it? Q plus is doing it. So we got a 5 of 5, comms are clear. Thank you very much, President Trump. We know that you're in control. Thank you. Let's see if we can bring this back into the way we played, back into normal speed. Normal speed, here we go.
The most beautiful in the world.
Mr. President, do you support the Graham bill on putting high tariffs?
I have not looked at it, but they'll be guided by me.
So Lindsey Graham, the warmonger, went over there to the Ukraine with Blumenthal and he was with Zelensky, and he tried to introduce a very, very harsh bill, as in the types of sanctions, which would have been pretty heavy. And President Trump is saying, well, basically, it's not up to him. I'm the commander-in-chief. It's up to me. And we know that he's exposing Lindsey Graham, because we know that Lindsey Graham is connected to who, ladies and gentlemen? We know that Lindsey Graham is connected to John McCain. And we know what John McCain's all about.
That's the way it's supposed to be. They're going to be guided by me. No, I haven't looked at it. It's a bill on sanctions, etc. I'm a very quick study. At the right time, I'll do what I want to do. But it could very well be okay. I'll have to see. But they're waiting for me to decide on what to do. And
so he's saying it's up to me. He's the commander-in-chief. He makes the call, not Lindsey Graham.
I'll know, maybe very soon.
And the thing is, you've got to ask yourself, why do they continue to push the same rhetoric over and over again, which is Lindsey Graham, Blumenthal, and all these others? Think about it. One's on the right, one's on the left. I told you they serve the same beast. It's another future-proof past to show people that it's not about left and right. They're equally involved in the filth. And they're being greased off as well. That's what's going on. And we know Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal and others on both sides of the aisle. Remember, it's not about left and right. They're both, and Q tells us it's not about Republicans or Democrats. We know that they're both equally involved.
It's a harsh bill. Yeah, very harsh.
Both looking for ways to stop it very soon. And I told the president before we came in that he is the key person in the world who can really do that now by putting pressure on Russia.
See, there we go. Always the pressure is on Russia. You will see that chancellor, the German chancellor, I think his name's Merz, continues on and on and on about Russia this and Russia that and Russia's fault and Russia. You could see that he doesn't want peace. He doesn't want peace at all because they know what's involved there. They know that number one, they've been using it as their personal slush fund, getting money across from the taxpayer into there, but also the other nefarious activities. Now, you've got to protect, Ukraine because from Russia, because if Russia gets in there and gets everything, they got it all on them. And that's what they're doing. But this is what's happening. It's got to be done this way. It's got to make sense to the masses. And I say that it's got to be something major in order for it to make sense. Now, we're sitting there analysing, talking about things, using a logical, standpoint, using the Q chops, using the facts, evidence, and receipts. Now, we're doing all this because this is what we are fighting for, which is true freedom, and knowledge is power. Now, the average, let's just call it, the ones that are asleep, do you think they really give a damn what's going on? Or they're still counting their money, going, the crypto and their stocks and making money and going to the pub or all these sort of things? What's more important to them? That's the question. What is the masses? I don't want to know about it. That's what they go. I don't want to know about it. Haven't you heard that? I don't want to know about it. And that's exactly why we're in this shit. Because the problem is that they don't want to know about it, yet they have the audacity to call us a bunch of conspiracy theorists when we try to show them the facts, evidence, and receipts. And they think they're getting their daily dose of facts from the mainstream media, which they don't know that it's part of the Great Six, that they're all connected to each other, and they use an echo chamber effect. And they think that what the mainstream media are telling them is all the truth, when we've been trying to bring out the truth. That's why they should be watching these kind of shows, ladies and gentlemen, instead of, watching all that superficial garbage and keeping themselves dumbed down. Because that's exactly what entertainment is designed to do, is to keep people's minds in a state of containment. I don't want to know about it, they go. I don't want to know. You've probably come across those kind of people. Just give me a thumbs up if you ever come across those kind of people where you try to awaken them with the facts, evidence, and receipts, the truth. You want to show them something and they switch off. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the shit. That's why we are where we are right now. And I'm hoping that we can all do our bit and thumbs up, share this all around the place. Let's get the message out there. Number one, let's get the truth out there. Number two, let's expose those that use this movement to enrich themselves and basically expose those flip-floppers. Expose those that continue to basically, use this movement to, create fear porn, clickbait. Let's expose them all. The con artists. Oh, don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen. They will be exposed on the Kraken. The Kraken's coming out very soon. They don't realise what's on that one. I've been working on that very, very hard through, right through the clock. There's a lot of amazing content that I'm going to bring to the table based on facts, evidence, and receipts that you will not see anywhere else. I will guarantee you, after you see the Kraken 6, that you will leave you in a state of, shall we say, you'll be angry. You'll be angry at those that are responsible. Because we've all been, I'm putting my hand up, I've been a victim of their grifts, the RV and all that sort of stuff. No, that's all going to be covered. The med beds will speak about it. And those involved in pushing the grift, the Nasara Jasara of the biggest, shall we say, something that was pure, something that was created with the utmost best intentions, had become an abomination that you know today. And they still continue to use this. They still continue to lie and to deceive. And it's quite sickening, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It is quite sickening, to be quite honest. Especially, you go on Amazon and you type in that word Nasara Jasara and you're going to see book after book, T-shirts, this, that, the other, so much crap. It's unbelievable. And they've all jumped aboard the Nasara Jasara train of deception and lies to enrich themselves. And they're those that are stupid enough to believe the garbage of others. That's the problem. Nasara Jasara, ladies and gentlemen, okay, is an abomination. Now, what I want to bring is to the truth, the utmost truth to the table. Don't you want to know the truth? There's an upside to everything. But the thing is, they've been using this label to enrich themselves beyond belief. And it connects the QFS, it connects the RV, it connects the med beds, it connects all these other things, ETs and all that sort of stuff. They put it all into one big hodgepodge. And it's all been done by design, and the hopium's in there and everything's in there. And it's basically, as I said, is to hook people on something that is based on deception and lies. But the thing is, as I said, there's an upside. I'm going to take you through a journey from the very beginning as to how it was really conceived. And then I'm going to expose those entities that have been, what they've done throughout the time that Nasara, so it started Nasara, then became Nasara Jasara, and it is what it is today. Those entities are going to be exposed. People are going to know how it came to be what it is now. And they continue to use it today. And unfortunately, there are people that are that stupid, they don't do their research. They don't do their research at all. In the sense that they go around and say it on their podcast, and they continue on with their podcast, and they say it on all, you know. It's like, well, you believe in the garbage of these con artists. Isn't it time that you woke up? It's year 8 now of the so-called plan. Aren't you going to awaken, or are you just going to continue on spreading, you know, the proverbial bullshit? I'd rather show people the truth and let people make that decision for themselves based on the facts and some receipts.
And we will have this debate later on again, how we can proceed jointly between the Europeans and the Americans. And I think we are having the duty to do something on that now, to stop it after 3.5 years, which is really terrible. Look at the kids, the kids which were kidnapped from Ukraine.
They weren't kidnapped from the Ukraine. Do you see this German chancellor is continuing on with that warmongering rhetoric? And that's what's happening right now. President Trump, look at him. He knows what he's saying. He knows that Putin, you know, that Russia are not doing that. They're actually taking those teenagers and children to stop them from hurting them, number one, and putting them in the damn army. You've seen all what's going on out there. And they go around and they've lowered the age and they're going around nabbing all these teenagers. And they're Russia's protecting them. This is the thing. They're going around playing this little game, but they're exposing themselves. Remember, never interfere with the enemy destroying itself. And President Trump, look at his hands. He knows what he's doing.
To Russia. This is all terrible. And so we are talking about instruments, measures, what we can do. And my personal view is clear on that. We are on the side of Ukraine.
There we go. He made it clear. He is on the side of Ukraine. President Trump's playing the neutral card, isn't it? As per Q drop 4. Neutral. Optics, neutral card.
And we are trying to get them stronger and stronger just to make Putin stop this.
Do you see what I mean? He's saying we're trying to get them stronger and stronger. For who? So you can have your dirty secrets protected. All the nefarious activities, all the slush funds, the money that's been pouring in there and going into your pockets. Is that what you're protecting? I think so. President Trump knows what's going on.
And this is only by Russian weapons against Ukraine.
There we go. Blame the Russians again.
This had
But
never
the thing is,
with Ukraine.
You don't hear him talking about the attacks like President Trump spoke about. How you heard President Trump said how the Ukraine went in there and did these massive attacks. You don't hear the German chancellor speaking about that because he's corrupt as you can be.
Ukraine weapons against Russia. Never. Ukraine is only targeting military targets. Not
No.
Not civilians, not private, not energy infrastructure. So this is
Can you see President Trump's face? He's not impressed.
the difference, and that's the reason why we are trying to do more on Russia, how to stop this war.
Have you uncovered any evidence that anything specific was signed without President Biden's knowledge or by other people in the administration acting illegally?
Well, I don't think Biden would know whether or not he signed it.
I'm asking if you've uncovered any of that information.
No, but I've...
Okay. He just said about the auto pen. Has he got any evidence that he uncovered about Biden using an auto pen? And he says no, he doesn't.
Uncovered, the human mind. I was in a...
He says, I uncovered the human mind. Yes, President Trump, we know that, as your Truth Social says, that he's got a mouthful of flies, or he's some dumb clone or robot, as you said on your Truth Social. I was in the debate with the human mind. Oh, that's interesting. The human mind. Does that mean that it was a double? Why didn't he say the clone or the robot mind? Very interesting, isn't it? You got to listen to his play on words.
A debate with the human mind, and I didn't think he knew what the hell he was doing. So, it's just one of those things, one of those problems. We can't. But I know some of the people that use that auto pen, and those are not the people that had the same ideology as Joe Biden.
He goes, I know the people that use the auto pen, and they don't have the same ideology as Joe Biden. I mean, look, yeah, well, obviously, we know that Joe Biden was see you later, and we know who was operating the auto pen. It's obvious. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. It was a great show, wasn't it? Lots of amazing stuff, a lot of great, decodes, and we explained a few things. Now, let's see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of things going on as far as escalation. We're waiting to see what happens with Putin. Let's see what happens there. Also, let's see what happens with Elon. That's going to be a very interesting state of affairs, isn't it? To see how this is all going to translate. Is it going to be that Elon, they get his SpaceX seized? Maybe. And then when you see something, you've got control over it, haven't you? And if you've got control over something, you can go and find out the nuts and bolts as to what's really going on. And you can see that obviously there are things, many things, questionable things that are going to be brought out into the light, into the open. Now, apparently Musk orders SpaceX to decommission Dragon spacecraft over feud with Trump. So already Elon's gone out there and said, we better can it. And the things are getting more and more, shall we say, heated, like this. Here's how much Elon Musk government contracts are really worth. Why is this making, shall we say, headlines? Because we're heading towards major disclosure as to how much money is really going into SpaceX, is really going into these other, shall we say, entities of Elon Musk. Let's have a look at this article. And it says there that President Trump has threatened to cut US government ties with Elon Musk's businesses, which means he'll lose a lot of money. As Musk began slashing away at what he called government waste with department government efficiency, whatever you call it, efficiency. Early this year, reports began emerging that Tesla's founders' businesses has received at least $38 billion in government contracts, loans and subsidies and tax credits through the years. There we go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And I wonder how that's been, happening. It was through good old Obama, wasn't it? And you can see, ladies and gentlemen, as all roads lead to Obama and to all the, the nefarious activities and money that's been going from the taxpayers' dollars from there into good old Elon Musk's pockets and, obviously Obama and those connected like Prince Al-Walid. And yes, you could see, ladies and gentlemen, that there are things that are, as I said, escalating as far as with Elon. SpaceX has, what it says there, $22 billion in federal spending, according to SpaceX president. Yes, 22 billion. 25% of SpaceX 2024 revenue came from contracts 3.4. We know what it means, Q+. We know it's in control, Q+ is in control. All right, remember, whole numbers, 34, Q+. Then we got 11 plus 8 equals 19. Q+ again, or we got President Trump. Can't make this stuff up. And you can see that Tesla has received more than 11 billion. Starlink, 6 billion. Oh, yeah. 11 plus 6. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you a nice 17 equals Q. 11 and 6. Can't make this stuff up. And it continues on and on and on and on and on. We know who's really in control, don't we? And we know that, obviously, the Doge is going to get involved in this. Think about it. Imagine doging the Doge. How cool is that? Doging the Doge. And you could, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, it's all going to translate to Elon's, committing fraud, treason, all the rest of it. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing times. It really, really is. And we're looking forward to these amazing times translating to arrests. Like, yes, we want 11.3 market Tesson. Yes, I agree. We want to see some major arrests take place. And look, you could see, and remember, I was the one that was going out there and saying, Elon's a bad seed, and I knew this was going to flip around, and I said, don't love Elon. I warned him. I said it when the other ones were riding their little cyber trucks. You know what I mean? Wank, wank, cyber truck around the place. The one, like, you know which one? The one, the idiot that you saw before with his cyber truck. Okay? The one that was sitting there loving Elon and this and that and plastering it all over his ex and... No, you're not going to be loving Elon now, because we know that you're doing a whole 360 and you're trying to make it out that you knew all along, but you didn't. Let's be honest, you didn't know. Don't play that little game with us. We know that, you're full of shit, basically. Okay? Especially when you called us a bunch of civic Q nuts. And I've shown you that, this one that calls us civic Q nuts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, civic Q nuts. And yet they put the 17 all over the place, or a civic Q nut. Oh, yeah. By the way, there's a 17 and a 17 here and a 17 there and a 17 and a 17. Yeah, no, let me remind you this person who it is.
You came into my life and tried to do me wrong. So in return for that, I have sent you this song. It tells you what I think and how I feel about you. So take a seat and listen up, cause every single word is true. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, I hope you'll soon be dead. And this is payback time for what you put me through. The way you behaved was a total disgrace. I never grow tired of punching your face. You think that putting me down lifts you higher? I wouldn't diss on you if you were on fire. You think you're better than me? Well, you're not my friend. I'll get further in life than you in the end. You're nothing, you're worthless, just dirt on my shoe. Wherever you go, whatever you do, people will sing this song to you. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, I hope you'll soon be dead. And this is payback time for what you put me through. God will punish you, cause you reap what you sow. You're a vile individual from head to toe. Nasty to the bone, unpleasant to the core. I shall drink champagne when you are no more. If I never see your face again, that's too soon. I never met anyone so suited to this tune. I hope your friends desert you and your health is poor. This is what I think you are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, I hope you'll soon be dead. And this is payback time for what you put me through. I wouldn't even give you the steam from my piss. As far as I'm concerned, you can swivel on this. You're simply jealous of me, but I couldn't care less. Cause I have all the qualities you'll never possess. I'd hate to go through life as you 24/7. Cause people like you don't end up in heaven. You will rot in hell, that's where you belong. And when you get there, they'll be singing this song. You're a dickhead, such a dickhead.
It's the same feeling every time.
And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, we're all glad you're dead. And so is everyone that you ever knew. Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead, everybody's said. I hope you like the song, so screw you.
Sorry, guys. Yes. Is that better? Let me just give me the thumbs up before I continue on. I'll just wait for it. Can you hear me? I'll just wait for it, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a thumbs up when you guys can hear me. Okay, it shouldn't be muted. Okay. As I said, I'm a Q decoder. You know how I take this seriously? What I do, I've sworn an oath to Q, to God, to President Trump, and I take what I do, as I said, very, very seriously. Now, that entity basically started off Q this and Q that and 17 and all that, and then he went and called us a bunch of civic Q nuts. Then he came and started doing these 17s just recently. Oh, you're 17, adding these numbers. 17 here and 17 there. But I thought you called us a bunch of civic Q nuts. And then you go, and does that mean that President Trump is a civic Q nut as well? Do you see the flip-flopper? The big flip-flop man. You see it, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, the facts, evidence, and receipts speak for themselves, just like this. Steve Bannon, and yes, he was out there going and bagging Steve Bannon, by the way. Isn't it right? I think it was. He was bagging Steve Bannon. He was bagging Massie. He was bagging a lot of people. And why don't you go and bag yourself now? Now, Steve Bannon, that's right, he was bagging Steve Bannon. And I've always said Steve Bannon's definitely solid. He's a white hat. He says Trump should seize SpaceX tonight. After Elon said he's decommissioning Dragon spacecraft, calls Musk a know-it-all who doesn't know anything about the real world. Now, I remember that entity, the one that you saw before, that was calling Steve Bannon all sorts of lovely names. No. It's time for that dickhead to exit stage left. Yeah. Let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we can get this.
Know anything. He's a know-it-all. He knows some engineering. Don't get me wrong. I give a hat tip for that, but he doesn't know anything about the real world. Doge was, and for any fanboys that still exist, while you're wrapping up in your cape tonight, understand on Doge, he didn't find any fraud. There's plenty of fraud out there. He didn't find. This is President Trump's first complaint. Was this all BS? Right with the with the Doge. The action.
Are you saying that Doge was a fraud? That's a very interesting take.
That President Trump should be taking immediately, I think. When he threatens to take one of the big programs out of SpaceX, President Trump tonight should sign an executive order calling for the Defense Production Act to be called in SpaceX and seize SpaceX tonight before midnight.
That's interesting, isn't it? Seize SpaceX before midnight. Let's see what happens. And then you got Elon Musk that says that Trump should get impeached. That's not very nice, is it? Elon Musk says yes to Donald Trump getting impeached. I wonder what that dickhead thinks about that one. After all, he was driving the Cybertruck and laughing it up and with his friends and all that, and Elon this and Elon that. Now I wonder what if he thinks about Elon. Now he's trying to do a 360. They're trying to do a whole 360. That whole turnaround. No. Don't bother turning it around because you got busted lying. Okay? Now, obviously, Elon's going out there and he's bringing out all the dirt and trying to get Trump, as in, put it into the Democrats' minds to get him, for Trump to get impeached. Isn't that lovely? Because Trump refused to get the EV mandate to continue on with that rhetoric because he thought he was going to get cashed up. And that's the thing. It's another future-proof past, just like he did in the past. And he thought that Trump was on his side. And Trump said, no, I'm not with the Paris Accord. Forget about it. I'm pulling out of it. And I've always said, ladies and gentlemen, you know me, you've been watching me, and I've been saying about him he's a bad seed all along. All along I've been saying it. Don't want to say it again. FCB's been right about a lot of things, even this, and the other stuff as well. Now, I want to say a big thank you to all of you. Appreciate your support, your unwavering support. Thank you. Those who have donated, contributed, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Even though it's not a lot, it goes towards keeping the bills in check. If you would like to contribute, you can do so to our platform. You could do that by going here. Okay, https://link tr.ee/FCB collective. I want to say thank you to Carol and Soren. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't had any sleep. So hopefully I'll get some sleep. But knowing me, I'll probably go up there and start looking at things again. And I just can't help myself, ladies and gentlemen. I just need to know what's going on in this beautiful world of ours. You know what I mean? And, I am going to have a hot seat very soon where you'll be able to ask me questions. Please reserve your questions for the hot seat. It's just a different show. This is to do with presenting the news, the geopolitical news, decoding, intel, all that sort of thing, military analysis. This is the pulse. The show for that you can ask me questions will be the hot seat. So I will be announcing when that happens, but also very soon, ladies and gentlemen, you know what's going to be released. And when it does come out, it takes no prisoners. Forget about that one. The deception stops, ladies and gentlemen. Enough is enough. We've had enough of the lies. I want to bring the truth and show you what's really going on. That gentleman, the one that created that concept, did it with the utmost best intentions for humanity. And they took it and they distorted it and they made it into a profit-making machine beyond belief. As I said, you go to Amazon and you type in Nasara Jasara, and the amount of hits you will see, books, merch, this, that, the other. It's disgusting. And you'll also find that if you look in the comments section, there'll be people saying couldn't you change the format because it says Chat GPT? In other words, they use artificial intelligence to write the book for them. And a lot of them do it. They use AI, ladies and gentlemen, to write books. And they profit from it. It's disgusting. It really is. And what's disgusting is that it's still continuing to this day. You think people would have woken up? That's the thing. You think people would have woken up already? You think they would wake up and see that, hold on a minute, where's the RV? The RV continues each and every day. It's like, oh, it's happening tomorrow. It's happening. It's happening. No, next week. Oh, I got my contacts. No, next week. And that's been going on for years and years and years now. Now, any logical person would say, well, you know what? they've been saying it for how long? I mean, the Zimbabwe dollars, I mean, we're supposed to use it, according to Mr. Ward, to be able to use it for humanitarian projects. And yet, here we are. How many times have we heard him? Oh, don't you worry, I've got it all on video. Don't you worry about that one. And it's over and over, regurgitated, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting to a point where people should wake up. Now, I'm doing this for a reason, and that is to empower people with the truth. And what they choose to do with it is entirely up to them. They can't turn around to me and say, FCB, you didn't say anything. You didn't tell me about this and that and the other. You can't say that. Everything that I've done has not been behind a paywall like the others have. I've given everything freely without any cost at all. And yet they play these little theatrics, these games where if you want to know more, so they give you the lure, the free bait. If you want to know more, because my mouth is closed. And by giving me subscription fees, because I've signed an NDA, that it loosens my lips. Does that make any sense to you? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. You know, if you sign a supposed NDA and they say, oh, you know, if you want to know more, then come through the back door, through the insiders club. What does your NDA sort of has a clause in there that says if you get subscription fees, you're allowed to talk? Is that what someone enlighten me, ladies and gentlemen? Someone enlighten me that when you have money, it loosens your mouth? Well, that's how it works with them. And this is the little game that they play. They do their theatrics. So people believe. I honestly don't know how they believe. There must be, I don't know, so hooked on the garbage that they're feeding him. Seriously, I mean, I've seen it, and I've spoken to people that have been in the supposed insiders club, and they say, FCB, it's just more garbage. That's all it is. Those who have got the regrets. And a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen, are starting to leave them because they've had enough. Because they want real facts, evidence, and receipts. They want real truth. And you're only going to get that here. Because you know, when I bring out the facts, evidence, and receipts, you can't dispute it. Being a master decoder, an investigative journalist, you know I'm about showing you how I've come to these conclusions. Whereas others, they play the little theatrics, act, games, mysterious things that no, you can't see who I am, and they talk like monotone, like speak and spell. And it's supposed to, you know, give them this mystique, if you will, or allure that they know what they're talking about because they have to be hidden, you know, because they can't show their face. No, because you know why they don't want to show their faces? Because when the grift is up, you won't know who they are anyway. That's how it works. So this is the thing. I mean, when are people going to wise up? When are people going to leave the cult? Let's just call it what it is, their cult. We don't have a cult here. A cult is something that basically gets you to conform to their way of thinking, to whatever their narrative is. You want to call them, they call themselves influencers as well. That's the other thing, influencers. I don't call myself an influencer. I call myself somebody that empowers people. I call myself an empowerer, someone that empowers people with the facts and receipts, the knowledge, the truth. That's who I liken myself to. Because an influencer, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly that. They influence you with the garbage that they want you to believe. They hook you into the hopium. So basically, you want more of that. You're addicted to it, like any drug. They're addicted to it because it gives them people a high. Hopium is something that they use as in, you know, their lies, their deception, their fairy tales. It sounds too good to be true because it literally is too good to be true. The bullshit is unbelievable. And people get hooked on it. The woo-woo, the fuzziness. And that's called the hopium. And because of that hopium, you know what happens? When they want access to more of that hopium, they're willing to pay for it. That's when the subscription fees come in. No, I need to know more. That's a drug, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the thing. They feed a fish for a day. Where I teach people how to fish, to catch fish so they can eat for a lifetime. Because as Q says, knowledge is power. And we're all in this together. Where we go one, we go all. We're all in this together. Together we will get through this. But you know what? People really need to start assessing who they're watching, what information they're being receiving, and hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. Say, how did you come to these conclusions? I wish people would do that. I would honestly hope that people would do that and say, how did you come to these conclusions? But you know what it is? It's only a one-way street with them. So, for example, the one that's the audio tape man. All you hear is an audio tape. There's no opportunity that I give you, as in when I do the hot seat, to speak to me. No, you don't have that opportunity to speak to the audio tape man. He's hidden behind an audio tape. And the others that play these little theatrics, they don't give you the yes, no, maybe answers. Nothing significant, nothing of value. And you know who that is. It's the same regurgitated crap that's on the spin cycle, and all the circle jerkers bring it all, they all spin it around. Honestly, I don't know how people can continue to watch this, especially when we're on year 8 of this plan. It's beyond me. Hopefully there are people that are waking up and saying, you know what, there's got to be something better out there, and it's right here on the Freedom Channel broadcast. That's where it is. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in to the Freedom Channel broadcast with yours truly, FCB. Hopefully you got a lot of this one, Trump's Trojan horse, because literally this whole OBB, the one beautiful bill, has been the Trojan horse to basically expose those who are basically the part of the deep state. And you could see what's going on already. You see what's happening with Elon. That was amazing. So, you know, as I said, I knew that was going to happen. And there's going to be more characters coming out. So Elon is just the beginning. Mark my words, more are going to be coming out. So anyway, guys, God bless you all. And please, don't listen to the fear porn, the hearsay, the rhetoric that's out there. Always stand in your power. Don't allow the devil's workshop to get the better of you. Be the observer, not the absorber. Okay? And you know the saying, you are what you eat. Well, apply that as well logically as far as what you watch, who you watch. Because as Q says, be careful who you follow. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Cheers, everyone.